Liam has a deplorable and pathetic life. He hasn't been able to have quality time with his family in nearly a decade. His work environment has been heel lately, so the only thing keeping him afloat these days is the love of his wife and daughter. When Liam gets back home for the day, his wife Mika greets him and asks about their daughter Kanami. His wife explains that Kanami is already asleep, but she'd been asking for a dog all day long. It seems that after seeing a Shiba at her friend's place not long ago, she just can't stop thinking about it. Liam isn't certain they can manage the cost of a dog at the moment, but after glancing at his sleeping daughter, he thinks it could be worth it if having a dog would make Kanami happy. Even if it means putting in extra hours for a few weeks, he's willing to consider it. The following day, he brings Kanami to a pet store to get her a dog, and she looks genuinely overjoyed. Mika is honestly taken aback that Liam went along with the idea, considering it would only add more responsibility to his already full plate, but he doesn't mind. He's convinced that as long as his wife and daughter are happy, he can face whatever obstacles come his way. But as it turns out, he was completely mistaken. The following day at work, Liam's boss shouts at him for failing to submit a report on time. Liam points out that he actually sent the report on Thursday, but his boss was at a club enjoying himself that day, so he missed the message. Yet somehow, he still manages to pin the blame on Liam. Work is nothing short of a daily struggle for Liam, whether it's dealing with his careless boss or his disrespectful subordinates. They never hesitate to steal credit for his hard work, while also pointing fingers at him for mistakes he didn't even make. His professional life is pure chaos. Yet, no matter how rough the day is, coming home to his wife and daughter gives him just enough strength to push forward. However, the following day, as Liam is riding the train to work, he gets a message from his friend Nita. Nita tells him about the newly upcoming video game and asks if he can help purchase one for him. Liam can't help but laugh at how obsessed Nita is with video games, but being a good friend, he agrees to go and pick one up. He steps off the train and pulls up his GPS map to locate the store, but since he doesn't know the area well, he ends up getting lost. As he glances around, hoping to catch sight of the store, something unexpected catches his eye. His wife is on a date with some random guy. At first, Liam can't believe what he's seeing, especially because Mika told him she was taking Kanami to the sport club today, but she never did. That night, Liam arrives home after work and casually asks Mika how her day went. His wife fibs, telling him she only took Kanami to sword practice and nothing more. Liam nearly confesses that he spotted her on what looked like a date, but in the end, he plays along, acting as if everything is normal. The thought of shattering their happy family life is too much, so he begins to second-guess himself. Maybe he misinterpreted what he saw. Surely, Mika would never betray him like that. Needing some time to think, Liam decides to step away for a while. He attempts to put his computer on standby, but for some reason, it won't cooperate, leaving him no choice but to shut it down completely until he returns. As he walks through the city, his feet carry him back to the same place where he'd seen his wife on a date the day before. This time, the spot is empty, and a wave of relief washes over him when he confirms she isn't there today. But that fleeting sense of relief disappears the moment he overhears Mika talking on the phone with the man he suspects is her lover. To his horror, she even brought Kanami along. Liam clings to the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, this guy is nothing more than a close friend. But then Kanami calls him dad, and in that instant, his entire world crumbles. Stunned, he returns to work, forcing himself to believe there must be some explanation. Perhaps it's just a very devoted friend who pretends to be Kanami's father when he's not around. Surely his wife wouldn't betray him like this. Right at that moment, his boss walks over and starts shouting at Liam for slacking off. So Liam tells him he's simply waiting for his computer to boot up. It's been acting up with the standby mode lately, and for security reasons, Liam has to shut it down completely whenever he takes a break, but instead of understanding, his boss yells even louder and tells him he should just stop taking breaks altogether. Right then, he receives a call from Mika, who tells him that Kanami has been in an accident. In a panic, Liam hurries straight to the hospital. When he arrives, Liam immediately asks Mika about Kanami's whereabouts. She informs him that their daughter has already been taken into the operating room. At that moment, a doctor steps out and questions whether they are Kanami's parents. After both of them confirm, the doctor explains that their daughter requires a blood transfusion so one of them will need to donate blood and asks what their blood types are. Liam states that his blood type is AB positive, while Mika confirms hers is O positive. Hearing this, the doctor immediately requests that Mika accompany him into the operating room for the transfusion. Confused, Liam questions why he can't be the donor instead. The doctor then clarifies since Kanami has type O blood, Liam's AB positive blood would be incompatible with hers. While the surgery is underway, Liam does a bit of research and finds out that it's biologically impossible for Kanami to have an O blood type if he's AB, so the only logical conclusion is that she isn't actually his daughter. Liam reaches his breaking point. He finally turns to Mika and demands the truth, is Kanami really his daughter? But instead of answering, Mika twists the situation, flipping the accusation back onto him. She claims she's the one who should be furious, insisting he never truly cared about their family in the first place. She claims he's never around, so Liam clarifies that it's due to him always having to work late. But Mika won't listen. She insists that Liam's job is pointless since he never receives raises or promotions, meaning he can't provide the life she desires. Liam is stunned by her words, but Mika keeps going, shouting that throughout their 10-year marriage, she's barely gotten to see him, forcing her to raise Kanami entirely on her own. Of course, she's choosing to overlook the fact that Kanami isn't even Liam's child. She says to Liam that he was never really part of this family and announces that she's taking Kanami and walking out. Liam questions where she thinks she's going, but Mika doesn't answer. Instead, she goes straight to Kanami's door, telling her they're leaving. Liam attempts to hold her back, but Mika jerks away, leaving him frantic. He shouts that he's always tried his hardest for Kanami and pleads with her not to abandon him. But then Kanami coldly says she prefers her other dad more, and in that moment, all hope drains from him. The following day, Liam shows up to work still heartbroken over his family's betrayal, but things take an even worse turn when his boss calls him in and accuses him of embezzling company funds. Liam insists he didn't do it, but the boss has proof 50 million yen transferred to an unknown account, and the transaction logs are all traced back to Liam's computer. With that, he's immediately fired. After Liam lost his job, Mika took it as the perfect excuse to file for divorce and even went as far as suing him for child support despite the fact that Kanami isn't even his biological daughter. To avoid going to jail over the embezzlement charges, Liam agreed to repay the 50 million yen by taking a job as a construction worker. His life feels practically finished now, and the only glimmer of happiness he still clings to comes from Nita. When Nita texts him about the newest episode of their favorite show, Liam starts typing back that he'd love to watch it together, but then he erases the message. Too ashamed to let Nita see just how broken his life really is, he tries to hold on to hope, believing that if he just keeps working hard, things will eventually get better. But then, during his lunch break, he suddenly starts coughing up blood. Later that night, he struggles to get any sleep as the bloody coughing fit only worsens, and the harsh reality hits him. He can't even afford to see a doctor. With no way to get treatment, he's left with no choice but to lie in bed and wait for the inevitable end. But just as the life starts slipping away from his body, a mysterious light appears above him and begins to show him a series of visions. In those visions, he sees the truth. It was actually his boss who embezzled the 50 million yen using Liam's computer. And to make things worse, that same boss was the one Mika had been cheating on him with all along. Everything Mika said before about feeling neglected turns out to be a complete fabrication. She had always viewed Liam as nothing more than a pathetic worm she could exploit for money. In fact, she had been involved in the entire scheme to frame him for the company's missing funds. Liam is devastated and struggles to accept that what he's seeing could actually be real. But then a mysterious man appears and confirms that it's all true. He looks Liam in the eyes and asks if he's really going to let them get away with such vile betrayal, and Liam, having finally reached his breaking point, vows to make them pay for everything they've done, even if it's the last thing he ever does. The man is clearly pleased by the raw fury now radiating from Liam, saying he's glad he decided to drop by, but he never gave his name. So Liam asks who he's supposed to be and why he's even here. The man explains that he simply took an interest in Liam because he's a genuinely good person. But Liam isn't impressed. Being a good man got him nothing in the end. If he had the chance to do it all over again, he'd live only for himself, putting his own needs above everyone else's. Hearing this, the man smiles with satisfaction and reveals the real reason he's there. He's offering Liam the chance chance to start over in another world. All Liam has to do is choose which world he wants to be reincarnated into. This could simply be a hallucination he's experiencing on his deathbed, but if he truly is being offered the chance to choose a new world, then he wants to make it worthwhile. He remembers Nita once mentioning something about another world, and there's one with robots and space battleships. If he chooses this path, he'll be stepping into a world where advanced technology and arcane magic collide, a realm ruled by the whims of kings and aristocrats. But power favors the privileged, and there's no guarantee of status. For all Liam knows, he could wake up as a lowly farmhand, shackled to the soil, while airships soar overhead and nobles dictate his fate. But because the man takes a liking to him, he tells Liam that he'll reincarnate him as the son of a count who governs an entire planet, just to make things a bit better for him. Hearing this, Liam is relieved that his next life will be an improvement over his current one. So, with his final breath, he signs the Ice Sky contract, and his soul is transported to the new world. On planet Hydra. Today marks Liam's 5th birthday, and to celebrate, his mother has arranged a party in his honor. She also has a special gift prepared for him, so she instructs Liam to follow her. Activating a floating spell beneath her feet, Liam mimics her action, and when they arrive in the next room, he discovers a massive cake alongside an enormous box. Excitedly, Liam tears open his present to find a cube inside. His mother then explains that this is the character customization tool for his very own AI maid. With this remote, he can choose any features he desires for the maid, and once selected, the design will be sent to a manufacturing company for production. Among the customizable options are the ears, the mouth, and various other body parts. Liam questions why she would give something like that to a 5-year-old, but she insists that it's very important. At that moment, his father approaches and says he also has a special present for Liam, the entire Banfield domain. Liam is stunned to hear that his father is actually willing to pass down the entire domain to someone his age. He asks if his father is truly serious about naming him the new count, and his father confirms it. However, there's just one small condition that Liam has to agree to first. Once he hands over the estate, he wants to move to the Imperial planet with his wife and enjoy a peaceful life. So he tells Liam that in order to receive the domain, he'll need to agree to provide him with a monthly allowance. Liam is so consumed by the idea of power that he fails to notice how strange it is for his father to willingly surrender everything to an actual infant. So when his father presents him with a contract to sign, Liam doesn't bother reading it. He just signs. Once the signature is complete, his father takes the contract and announces that he and his wife will now be leaving. Yet, Liam still doesn't grasp that he's probably just been tricked. Choosing to overlook the suspicious details, he instead fixates on the fact that he's now officially a count, and he fully intends to exploit that authority to ensure no one can ever take advantage of him again. None of this would have been possible without the guy's help, so he feels incredibly grateful to him. But the truth is, Liam really shouldn't have put his trust in someone who literally thrives on misery and pain. Just after Liam gets sent off to the other world, the man decides to stir up a bit more suffering before heading back to his own realm. He shifts his focus to Mika and Liam's boss, who are still hanging out and laughing together at the restaurant. Liam's boss jokes that he feels a bit guilty for completely ruining Liam's life like that. However, Mika responds that she doesn't feel sorry for him at all. In her eyes, he totally deserves to rot for throwing away 10 years of her life. Out of nowhere, a group of police officers surrounds the boss and informs him that he's under arrest. He tries to argue that there must be some kind of misunderstanding, but the officers have already reviewed the surveillance footage showing him setting Liam up for the embezzlement. With that evidence, they're ready to throw him behind bars for a long time, and with her wealthy benefactor now headed to prison, Mika won't be receiving any more financial support, leaving her completely miserable. Meanwhile, the guide is basking in the chaos and pain he's managed to create. Now, the only thing left is to transfer Liam's soul to the other world, and the guide plans to make sure Liam experiences even more suffering there than he ever did here. He's looking forward to indulging in every ounce of Liam's despair once he comes comes to understand just how terrible his new life will be, and since people in that world live much longer, Liam is going to be stuck enduring that misery for centuries to come. Meanwhile, in the new world, a planet is being assaulted by the ghost pirates. Just as their captain believes victory is within reach, several of his crew members suddenly explode, and in the midst of the confusion, he notices Lieb's Princess Knight hovering in the air. As the first princess of the Holy Kingdom of Lieb, Christiana is a formidable warrior, and the moment she enters the fray, the pirates start falling rapidly. Thanks to her intervention, the Lieb army gains momentum, forcing the pirates into retreat. However, even as they flee, Christiana commands her troops to press the attack. They must teach those reckless pirates a lesson they won't forget. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Liam has just gotten his new AI made, and he's absolutely thrilled. What he didn't anticipate, though, was that she'd arrive packaged inside a doll. His butler explains that all Liam has to do is touch the package to open it. Following the instruction, Liam does just that, and the maid gracefully lands on the floor. She introduces herself as Amagi, and the butler informs Liam that, starting today, she will act as his personal assistant. He also mentions that while Amagi will require weekly maintenance, aside from that, she'll be available 24/7 to attend to Liam's every need. But Liam hasn't been paying attention for a while now, as he's completely focused on examining the assets. The butler questions what he's up to, and Liam replies that he's simply making sure the manufacturing company followed all the customization requests he made. Even so, the butler warns him that this kind of behavior isn't appropriate in front of others. In response, Liam asks Amagi to follow him to his room so he can carefully inspect every single part of her body, leaving the butler deeply concerned about Liam's purity. A few hours later, Liam is enjoying a shoulder massage from Amagi when the butler walks in and asks what exactly went on in the room, but Liam brushes it off, telling him not to worry about it. He might look like a 5-year-old, but his mind is actually 36. Even so, the butler points out that 36 is still basically a kid in this world. Liam is completely taken aback by that, so Amagi steps in to explain that the average lifespan here is around 600 years, and people aren't even considered adults until they reach about 100. Liam was completely unaware that lifespans in this place were so extended, but it fills him with joy. After all, a long life means he'll have ample time to explore countless experiences, and having Amagi beside him through it all, that just makes it even better. Liam's butler cautions him that getting too close to Amagi isn't a wise decision, since the Empire generally holds a deep hatred for AI. If people were to witness him being overly friendly with one, it could spark some troubling rumors. Liam doesn't see why anyone would hate AI, so he asks the butler to explain. The butler tells him that, a long time ago, humanity was nearly wiped out during a massive war against the AI. Humans were enslaved and brought to the brink of extinction, but in that dark era, a courageous group rose up, fought back against the AI machines, and reclaimed freedom for mankind. Those same heroes went on to establish the Empire, which explains why its noble class harbors such resentment toward AI. But if that's really the case, then why would his mother have given him an AI robot for his birthday? The butler admits he was instructed to keep it a secret, but since Liam is now the new count, he commands the butler to reveal the truth. Reluctantly, the butler discloses that Liam's parents abandoned him and fled. Liam demands to know what they were running from, and the butler clarifies they had dumped the enormous debt of the Banfield family onto Liam's shoulders so they wouldn't have to face it themselves. Liam's great-grandfather Alistair was a great man who accomplished many things and made a name for the Banfield family. But Liam's father was a straight bum, so he took over control of the Banfield family and ran everything straight into the ground. Now the Banfield family owes a ton of money and has lost the rights to all the farmable resources on their frontier planet. On top of that, their industries have dwindled, so there's almost no tax revenue coming in, and that means they'll never be able to pay back the debt. Somewhere else on planet Hydra, a few locals are gathered in a bar, chatting about how their new lord is supposedly just a 5-year-old kid. One of the men starts venting about how much he despises living here, recalling that the last time a new lord took over, they were hit with heavy taxes for no apparent reason. But for now, all they can really do is hope that things go more smoothly this time around. Meanwhile, Liam is still trying to wrap his head around the whole thing, because if the Banfield domain has been poor for so long, why would his parents suddenly decide to drop the burden on their 5-year-old son? But then he realizes that they must must have given birth to him specifically because they wanted to drop their debts on him. In his previous life, Liam was mistreated, exploited, and discarded like used toilet paper. But he promises himself that he won't let the same thing happen in this world. He turns to Amagi and asks her to join forces with him to ensure his future turns out well, and Amagi is more than willing to help in any way she can. After all, Liam has given her a sense of purpose. Liam feels relieved to finally have someone he can trust completely, and he's genuinely looking forward to building a future alongside Amagi. But before that, he decides to give her the 3 laws of robots that will ensure the safety of humanity. The first law is that Amagi is not allowed to cause harm to any human being. Then Liam thinks about it and realizes that he doesn't care about any other human beings, so he decides to go with a different set of laws. To start, he states that Amagi is forbidden from doing anything that could harm him. Next, she is required to follow all of Liam's commands, unless those commands would go against the first rule. And lastly, she must ensure her own protection at all times, as long as doing so doesn't conflict with either the first or second rule. With that settled, Liam informs Amagi that he intends to restore the Banfield domain to prosperity and asks if she has any suggestions on how to achieve that. Amagi quickly runs a search and soon formulates an idea, but before sharing it with Liam, she cautions him that, as an AI robot, her proposals might not align with the Empire's values. Still, she assures him that she is fully capable of providing administrative support to aid in his governance. The problem is, Liam knows next to nothing about this world, so Amagi proposes that he use an education capsule. It's a unique device capable of implanting a decade's worth of knowledge directly into his mind in just 6 months, and as an added benefit, it even enhances his physical conditioning during the process. Liam agrees it's a solid plan, but since someone needs to oversee the Banfield domain while he's inside, he grants Amagi temporary administrative control to manage affairs in his absence. Brian protests the idea, not liking the thought of Liam handing over control of the entire domain to a robot, but Liam reassures him that it's not a problem. Amagi would never do anything wrong unless he specifically told her to. Plus, there's no law that prohibits a robot from managing a domain temporarily, so he's decided to entrust everything to her for the time being. With the education capsule now ready, Liam prepares to start the procedure. But before stepping in, he has one last question for Amagi. He wonders if she's capable of feeling emotions, or at least something resembling them. Amagi admits she can't say for certain, but when Liam invited her to work alongside him, her systems registered a cache memory overflow, or, to put it more simply, it made her happy, pleased by her response. Liam reaffirms that he's entrusting everything to Amagi's care as he steps into the education capsule. After some time, the education pod finally opens and Amagi is the one to welcome him. He then asks her how much time has passed since he entered the capsule, and Amagi tells him it's been 2 years. After getting dressed, Liam listens as Amagi outlines the current economic condition of the Banfield territory, and everything appears to have gone well, prompting Liam to thank her for all the effort she's put in. Liam mentions that he wants to take a look around the territory, so Amagi chooses to show him the battleship docks first. It's actually the first time Liam has ever seen the territory with his own eyes, and he finds the battle suits particularly fascinating. Curious, he asks Amagi if he can try piloting one, and she's more than happy to set up a test for him. She explains that the armor handles basic movements automatically, so all Liam has to do is picture the action he wants to take, and the suit will carry it out. He decides to give it a try, and once the suit systems activate, Liam finds he can move around freely in it, expressing his wish to test it in combat. Liam is surprised when Amagi tells him she can set up a mock battle for him. Shortly after, Mashida, the chief of the planet's defense force, arrives to spar with Liam. The moment the match starts, Liam rushes forward and swings at Mashida. Though Mashida blocks the strike, he plays along and acts as if he's been defeated. Mashida isn't the best actor, so Liam quickly realizes he's holding back, and he isn't happy about it. He commands Mashida to fight him for real, and as his lord's direct order, Mashida has no choice but to comply. When Liam attacks again, Mashida seizes his sword, effortlessly disarms him, and flips him onto the ground, stunned by how easily he lost. Liam struggles to make sense of it. Amagi then clarifies that the suit's movements depend entirely on the user's mental visualization, meaning seasoned fighters like Mashida, with years of battle experience, have far superior control. all. Because of that embarrassing loss, Liam instructs Brian to find him a combat instructor right away. Brian attempts to persuade him that there's no real need for him to learn how to fight, but Liam is firm in his decision and refuses to accept any objections. In his previous life, he was constantly pushed down by those who held more power, so if he intends to live as an evil lord in this world, then he must become strong. Sometime later, Liam meets a man named Yasushi. Liam is thrilled, thinking Yasushi looks incredibly cool, so he introduces himself and expresses his desire for Yasushi to be his instructor. Yasushi agrees to take on the role of Liam's teacher, but Amagi has her doubts and feels hiring Yasushi might not be wise, as he gives off a suspicious vibe. Liam doesn't argue that Yasushi seems suspicious, but since he carries himself like a proper samurai, Liam's willing to ignore those doubts. If Liam believes Yasushi would make a competent instructor, Amagi knows she can't oppose his decision, though she insists he should at least confirm Yasushi's abilities first. Taking her advice, Liam requests a quick demonstration. Yasushi readily agrees and guides them to a forest clearing where he's already prepared several wooden posts for training. Before starting, he informs Liam that he's about to showcase his secret technique called the Way of the Flash, and that he won't be performing it ever again. Liam is told to pay close attention. Understanding the importance, Liam asks Amagi to begin recording so he can review it later. Yasushi then gets into position, partially unsheathes his sword, and closes it again. In the very next instant, every pillar surrounding him is sliced clean in half. Liam is genuinely blown away by what he just witnessed, a human moving that quickly shouldn't even be possible, so he asks Amagi to play the recording back in slow motion to see exactly how Yasushi pulled it off. But as they review the footage, no matter how much Amagi slows it down, there's no indication that Yasushi ever actually drew his sword. Liam figures that Yasushi must have been moving so fast the cameras couldn't capture it, which only strengthens his belief that Yasushi is incredible, and he eagerly asks to become his disciple. That same night, Yasushi goes back to the clearing with the pillars, chuckling to himself that Liam actually bought the act. The whole spectacle was just a cheap trick. He'd pre-cut the pillars so they'd collapse on cue. Now, thanks to that little stunt, he's secured himself an easy paycheck from Liam without having to lift another finger. At the same time, the princess is en route to meet with the Go's pirates to negotiate a potential peace agreement. While Go's had been the one to suggest a truce, the moment she arrives, he sneers that she was foolish to come alone. Christiana fires back, making it clear she didn't arrive without precautions. If Go's makes even a single hostile move, the entire Alliance fleet standing by will reduce his ship to cosmic debris. This was meant to be a show of strength, but Go's isn't intimidated, since he knows the Alliance is actually backing him. Right at that moment, Christiana gets a report saying that pirates have surrounded her home planet, and she's completely baffled by this. There's no way the pirates should have been able to breach her planet's defense line. That's when Go's reveals that the alliance she built isn't exactly flawless, and that some of its members were more than willing to betray her once he made them an offer. At that moment, Christiana's crew alerts her that every ship in the alliance has aimed its cannons at theirs. She's in shock, unable to believe that Go's truly succeeded in turning her own forces against her. But now, with no other option, she's forced to hear out Go's demands. Meanwhile, back on Liam's world, he's been training under Yasushi and is completely worn out. No matter how much effort he puts in, he still can't manage to use the Way of the Flash. He turns to Amagi and asks if there's any way he could learn the technique, but since she's a maid, she doesn't really have much knowledge about it. For the past 3 years, Yasushi has only had Liam practicing the fundamentals of swordsmanship, but Liam is starting to grow tired of the repetition. On the bright side, since Liam has mastered all the basics, Amagi says his fighting ability is a lot better than it was before. But Liam doesn't care about that. What he wants is a flashy move that'll look cool when he does it. That night, Yasushi is in his room, reading manga like he always does, still amazed that he managed to land such an incredible job. While Yasushi is indeed a scammer, he does have some knowledge of sword fighting, so for the past 3 years, all he's really done is show Liam some basic techniques, and he's been earning a ridiculous amount of money for it. He's hoping this easy gig never ends, but just then, Liam walks in and asks Yasushi to teach him the Way of the Flash. Yasushi immediately says he is quitting. He makes up an excuse and reminds Liam that he said he would only demonstrate the Way of the Flash technique once, so if he is dissatisfied with that, that. Then there's no point in Yasushi remaining here as his teacher. Liam immediately lowers his head and starts begging Yasushi for forgiveness for being so insolent, and Yasushi says he will forgive him this time, but he had better not make the same mistake again. As soon as Liam steps out of the room, Yasushi lets out a sigh of relief, having feared that Liam might have discovered he's a total fraud. There's absolutely no way he can teach Liam the way of the Flash when he himself doesn't even know how it works. Just then, Liam reappears, and Yasushi panics for a second, thinking he might have overheard him, but Liam simply came back to say he has something to take care of tomorrow, and won't be able to train. Meanwhile, Christiana has been captured by the Go's pirates, and is now being held in Captain Go's quarters. She demands to know what he intends to do with her, and Go's casually explains that he simply wanted to give her the best view in the house. At first, Christiana doesn't grasp his meaning, until Go's commands his entire fleet to aim their weapons directly at her home planet. The horrifying realization hits her, and she pleads desperately with Go's to call off the attack, but it's no use. With a cold command, he signals his crew to fire, and Christiana can do nothing but watch in horror as her planet is obliterated before her eyes. Back on Liam's planet, he is still frustrated that he hasn't been able to learn the way of the Flash yet, but he still needs to attend to his duties as a lord, so he asks Amagi to give him the monthly report. Amagi shows him some graphs detailing the current economic state of the planet, and while the massive debt remains unchanged, the production sectors have been seeing steady growth. Liam is pleased he put Amagi in charge of governance, as she's clearly handling things well, but Amagi points out that the growth rate is actually much slower than she had anticipated. They've poured substantial resources into initiatives like the welfare program, yet the returns they're seeing fall far short of what they should be, given both the budget and the time that's passed. Liam asks to see the financial reports for the welfare program, and all his years of accounting finally pay off because he can immediately see the problem. He tells Amagi to summon the man in charge of the welfare program, and a few minutes later this man shows up. Liam wastes no time and tells the man that if he has an excuse, he had better say it now. The noble attempts to play dumb, but Liam is well aware that he's been skimming money from the welfare program. He thought he could hide it with some crafty invoice adjustments, but Liam has spent enough time reviewing financial records to instantly sense something isn't right. And to make matters worse, the noble changed suppliers for the project, so Liam presses him for an explanation as to why. The noble tries to claim that the other vendor is better, but if that were the case, then the welfare program would be doing a lot better than this. It is obvious that the noble is as corrupt as can be, but Liam honestly isn't even that mad. After all, he came to this world because he wanted to become an evil lord, so he needs to learn to take advantage of his position like this too. Just then, Amagi lets Liam know that an embezzlement case had been opened against the noble, and Liam is surprised to hear that the noble was caught yet somehow still kept his position. But the noble explains that the investigation was closed after it was found that the real culprit was actually one of his subordinates. Liam asks Amagi if that is true, and she confirms it, but no real evidence was ever presented to support the claim that the subordinate was to blame, and the noble had the man executed. Amagi knows this pattern all too well, so he accuses the noble of framing his subordinate and having him killed. The noble desperately tries to deny everything, but Liam can tell that every word he's saying is a lie. Without a word, Liam picks up his sword and begins slowly walking toward him. At that moment, the noble realizes that Liam isn't going to fall for any of it, so he switches tactics and starts pleading his case, claiming that all the other nobles are doing the same thing. So, in his mind, it's completely normal to destroy people's lives for his own benefit. Upon hearing those words, Liam unsheathes his sword and prepares to execute the noble, but Amagi quickly intervenes, urging him to stop. The noble then begins shouting, claiming Liam is too young to grasp that this is simply how the world operates. But before he can get another word out, Liam slices off his head. Still burning with rage, Liam commands Amagi to investigate every noble on the planet and execute all who are corrupt right now. But she insists he needs to take a break first. This marks the first time Liam has ever taken a life, and he's so overwhelmed with nerves that he can't even let go of his sword. Amagi gently helps him unclench his hand. Regarding his earlier order, she explains that executing all the corrupt nobles would lead to serious issues, since nearly every noble is corrupt. Killing them all would leave the planet without anyone to handle handle its administration. As a compromise, she suggests that he prepare a selection of dolls to take over the planet's administrative roles, and since Liam trusts her judgment, he agrees. Some time passes, and Liam returns to the loading bay. Having now mastered the fundamentals of swordplay, he feels ready to train again in a battle suit. But just as he's about to step into one, Yasushi appears and warns him that relying on standard automated suits will forever prevent him from becoming a truly exceptional warrior. So Liam turns to Mashita and asks if there might be an alternative suit available. Mashita tells him that there is one, but it's entirely manual and almost no one has ever been able to operate it. The reason Yasushi originally came up with this idea was because Liam was actually turning into a skilled swordsman, and if Liam ever mastered swordsmanship, Yasushi would lose his job as a fraud. While he was rummaging through the storage, looking for things to steal, he happened to find an old mech. That's when he decided to trick Liam into using it, knowing full well that a kid like him would never be able to master it. And sure enough, his plan worked perfectly. Now Liam is completely dedicated to training with the mech. In theory, since the mech operates entirely manually, mastering its proper use could give Liam an advantage over every automatic mech user in the galaxy. So training with it might really boost his strength. But first, he needs to find someone who can repair it. Brian is happy that Liam is so dedicated to his mech training, but he doesn't get why Liam insists on starting with a manual model that's so difficult to handle, and he's even more puzzled by the fact that Liam has spent the last few days relentlessly slashing at that post. Brian asks Liam what he's doing. So Liam explains that he's simply trying to recreate the secret technique Yasushi demonstrated to him. No matter how much time it takes, he's determined to keep practicing until he's mastered it completely. Brian is skeptical that the technique truly exists, but he knows there's no chance he can persuade Liam that Yasushi is deceiving him, so he simply allows him to pursue his desires. That same day, Amagi makes her way to the loading bay to carry out Liam's request. She personally suspects Yasushi is nothing but a fraud, but as Liam is determined to use this mech, she's committed to doing her utmost to facilitate it. However, she lacks the expertise to handle the maintenance herself, so they require a specialist to manage it. The following day, Liam and Amagi head to the port to meet Niaz, and the moment Niaz notices Amagi, she starts acting strangely. Liam figures someone from the Empire would be repulsed by the sight of an android, but surprisingly, Niaz appears genuinely thrilled. She has an unusual fixation on androids, and recognizing that Amagi is an extremely advanced model, she's eager to examine every detail for research. Liam did the very same thing when he first encountered Amagi, but seeing someone else do it is just awkward, so he tells Niaz to cut it out. Later, he takes her to the hangar where the manual mech is stored and asks if she can fix it, but Niaz says it's practically finished. She suggests he'd be better off just buying one of the newer models, but Liam refuses. He's set on using this specific mech. Niaz warns him that replacement parts for this outdated model aren't made anymore, so restoring it won't be cheap. Still, Liam doesn't flinch. He's ready to pay whatever it costs to get the machine operational again, and for Niaz, those words are like music to her ears. Now she can charge him an absolute fortune for the repairs, and he won't even complain. But there's another matter. Liam mentions he wants the mech to have a finisher. Niaz is unclear on what a finisher is meant to be, so Liam clarifies that it's a stylish move he can use to obliterate his foes, like a rocket punch. At that moment, Yasushi happens to walk into the bay, and the instant he lays eyes on Niaz, he's instantly smitten. After composing himself, he attempts to act calm and approach her right away, but she pays him no mind, far more interested in explaining why a rocket punch is a foolish concept. Niaz argues the thrusters would occupy far too much space, and deliberately sacrificing your hand mid-battle is a dreadful idea, but Liam still finds it awesome, so he instructs Niaz to spare no expense in equipping the mech with a rocket punch. The two ultimately reach an agreement, but Yasushi is stunned that Niaz seems to prefer Liam over him. It could be because Liam is genuinely attractive, while Yasushi is an old musty samurai, so he channels his frustration by subjecting Liam to grueling, near impossible training. Yasushi forces Liam to balance on a log in the middle of a lake, blindfolded, while shooting him with tennis balls. He rambles some nonsense about this exercise unlocking Liam's mind's eye to sense incoming attacks without seeing them, but it's complete garbage. Meanwhile, after Goz took over Christiana's ship, she and her entire crew have been captured. Goz isn't just holding them prisoner, he's He's thoroughly enjoying taunting her. Christiana demands to know what Go's plans to do with her, and he casually explains he's taking her to his treasure planet to be added to his collection. At first, she assumes he's referring to some kind of twisted pleasure vault, but the truth turns out far more disturbing. Go's forcibly escorts her to his lab, where Christiana is confronted with a grotesque sight. That malformed mass of flesh was once one of her own crew members. After Go's delivered the woman to his scientist, she's been reshaped into something ripped straight from a nightmare. Go's informs the scientist that Christiana will become his new pet, and he has many ideas he's eager to test on her first. He intends to carve out one of her eyes and implanted it in his hand, so Christiana can witness her body being disfigured beyond recognition, just like his other pets. While Christiana endures the most painful ordeal of her life, things on Liam's planet are proceeding quite smoothly. Under Liam's leadership, the economy has significantly improved, leaving the locals overjoyed. They hadn't anticipated such success, and they're eager to see what Liam will do next to enhance the planet. Unbeknownst to them, Liam has just spent a substantial portion of the planet budget on his mech. Niaz has finally finished restoring it to its former glory, and she's incredibly proud of the results. Because of that, she offers to demonstrate to Liam how the controls function. Inside the mech, the control room was enlarged to ensure greater comfort, and once Liam is securely strapped in, Niaz fires up the engine. As the mech powers on, it instantly scans Liam, registering him as the new pilot, locking out anyone else from using it. Liam is thrilled to finally test it out, but the moment he takes hold of the controls, the mech collapses. Niaz points out that this mech lacks any auto balance functions, meaning Liam must manually steady it with every step. Typically, this would be a difficult challenge, but Liam has been preparing for this, so he regains command of the mech and cautiously brings it back upright. He then gradually starts moving out of the hangar, and Niaz is amazed by how skillfully he handles it, especially since this is his first time operating it. While he's walking, she tells Liam that his imagination is incredibly crucial for this mech's operation. The more vivid the mental image, the sharper the mech's movements will become. Liam tries to focus his imagination to make the mech do something cool, but then his eyes wander over to Nia's chest, and it all went downhill from there. Liam is now vividly picturing what it would be like to touch Nia's in every possible way, and the mech is acting out those movements right in front of everyone. Nobody realizes that the mech is simply reacting to Liam's imagination, so they're all completely convinced that he's having inappropriate thoughts about Nia's at this very moment. Yasushi is fuming at the idea that Liam just stole his woman right from under him, but Brian, on the other hand, is actually relieved. At least this time, it's a human involved. Meanwhile, Liam is trying to come up with an explanation to stop Niaz from thinking he's a pervert, but the mech already started doing pelvic thrusts, and there's no coming back from that. As revenge, Yasushi ends up hitting Liam with tennis balls out of jealousy again, but after that Liam goes back to his regular training. He's outside practicing the way of the flash technique, but no matter how much he swings his sword, he can't cut the post from a distance. He's beginning to fear that he lacks any skill for swordsmanship like this, but Amagi approaches and reassures him that's not true. She explains that the issue lies with Yasushi's teachings and the excessive trust Liam places in him. However, when Amagi brings up Liam's faith in Yasushi, he interprets it as her saying he doesn't trust his teacher enough, convinced that Yasushi could never deceive him. Liam concludes he must be misunderstanding Yasushi's lessons in some way. Just then, he remembers that magic exists in this world, so even though slicing a post without touching it seems physically impossible, it should be possible with the aid of magic. Liam has just made a major breakthrough in his training, so for the next couple of months, he diligently practices slashing with his magic until one day he calls Yasushi to show him what he has accomplished. Liam informs Yasushi that he has at last perfected the way of the flash, but Yasushi, doubting this is possible, he anticipates another failure. Yet, as Liam draws his sword, he unleashes a large wave of magic, cutting the post in two from that distance. Amazed by the sight, Yasushi struggles to maintain his facade as a master and tells Liam he performed admirably but still has much to learn before truly mastering the technique. Yasushi then leaves, and he is really starting to panic because Liam is a monster when it comes to training. Yasushi has been lying to him about the way of the flash for years, but Liam was still somehow able to make it happen. Some time passes and Liam is informed that one of his resource planets is under attack from pirates. It's the only one that wasn't impounded for the mortgage on the bamboo Banfield debt. And the only reason the Empire didn't seize it is because its environment is poor and mining on the planet is difficult, so they didn't think it was worth much. However, Amagi managed to establish several plants on the planet to provide additional revenue for Liam, but those plants are currently under attack by pirates, and although the Banfield forces stationed there are resisting, their defeat seems inevitable. When Liam inquires if Amagi has an attack strategy prepared, she proposes that they engage the pirates in combat, approaching from the planet's blind spot to launch a surprise assault. Liam likes the sound of that, so he orders all of his troops to get ready to hold off the pirate forces in orbit, while Liam is going to personally defend the planet. Brian tries to object since it's dangerous for the Lord to go fight pirates in person, but Liam refuses to let anyone steal from him again. Plus, he really wants to show off the new skills he learned. Liam and his fleet quickly reach the planet, prompting Amagi to ready the rail cannon and load Liam's mech inside. As soon as the cannon is fully charged and set for launch, Amagi locks onto Liam and sends him directly toward the planet's surface. Meanwhile, the pirates are busy finishing off the remaining defense forces when one of them is blasted from the sky. The pirates spin around to identify their attacker, and moments later, Liam swoops down, slicing one of them in two. The remaining units attempt to disperse and conceal themselves to surround Liam, but as two try to sneak up from behind, Liam senses their approach and slices them apart in an instant. He couldn't actually see them coming. The countless tennis balls Yasushi launched at him had taught him to anticipate unseen attacks. At that moment, a band of pirates begins shooting lasers at him, prompting Liam to respond by sheathing his sword and summoning a rifle beam. He starts firing at the pirates relentlessly, left and right, so they attempt to overpower him by charging all at once. Yet, in doing so, they align themselves perfectly for Liam's hidden technique. Liam unsheathes his sword, and with a burst of mana, a massive portion of the pirate forces is obliterated. The pirates are stunned that Liam can cut them down from afar, and if he's capable of that, they have no desire to keep fighting. Those still standing immediately turn and flee. Liam feels disappointed. He was hoping to demonstrate more of his swordsmanship, but he has no intention of letting them get away. With that in mind, he gets ready to unleash his secret weapon. Liam shouts rocket punch and aims his arm at the escaping pirates. But rather than a standard rocket punch, he summons a huge missile and launches it toward them. None of the pirates will survive such an attack, but Liam is frustrated because this wasn't what he had in mind when he instructed Nias to install a rocket punch. At that moment, Liam receives a transmission from Amagi, who apologizes for failing to eliminate the entire pirate fleet. Around 60% of the pirates managed to slip away, but Amagi successfully destroyed roughly 30% of their forces, while the remaining ships were captured and repurposed for Liam's army. Wiping out the pirates completely would have been ideal, but Liam is still pleased with the outcome. He expresses his gratitude to Amagi, assuring her that she performed excellently. Goes has just received word that the pirates he dispatched to raid the Banfield resource planet were unsuccessful in their mission, and he is absolutely upset. The scientist explains to him that the squad misjudged the power of the Banfield defenses, forcing them to retreat to avoid the destruction of their entire fleet. However, as reasonable as the decision may seem, Goes has decided to execute every pirate who chose to flee. He won't tolerate cowards in his crew. They don't deserve to live, and once he's dealt with them, he intends to make a statement by finishing the mission himself. He'll be absent for some time. He sarcastically tells Christiana, now a chimera, that he'll return later to have some fun with her. Meanwhile, Liam and his fleet have just come back from the battle, and he's extremely pleased with the outcome. Not only did they successfully defend the resource planet, but they also managed to seize multiple pirate ships as an extra reward, and under Imperial law, anything taken from pirates, including their entire ships and all the cargo inside, officially becomes yours. As it turns out, the captured pirate vessels happen to be loaded with a fortune in stolen loot. The moment Liam hears the word treasure, his mind jumps straight to visions of gold and silver. But Brian quickly informs him that the cargo is far more valuable than mere precious metals. After conducting a full inventory, Amagi reports that the ships were packed with rare materials like orichalcum, adamantite, and scarlatite. However, Liam isn't impressed. Those metals materials are only useful for crafting weapons, and he'd much rather have something flashy, like a diamond-encrusted crown. Amagi can't understand his disappointment, pointing out that diamonds are just common carbon crystals in this world, whereas orichalcum and adamantite are priceless by comparison. But Liam isn't bothered, because he still wants valuable things like gold, given his obsession with gold. Brian lets him know that some was found aboard the ships as well. The moment Liam hears this, he immediately orders Brian to use the gold to mint a massive amount of gold coins. At that point, Brian asks if he also plans to turn the other metals into coins too. But Liam isn't that foolish. He wants to use those materials to forge weapons for his army instead. But Brian points out a serious issue with that plan. They don't have a blacksmith. Separately, there's also something Amagi needs to talk to him about. The Banfield military technically has about 10,000 ships, but after conducting diagnostic checks across the fleet, Amagi found that the majority of them are inoperable. In fact, when the order was given to deploy the fleet against the pirates, only 30% were actually capable of entering combat. Liam can't believe they managed to defeat the pirates while only deploying 30% of their fleet. But the truth is, their victory came down to the pirates severely underestimating them. To the rest of the Empire, the Banfield domain still appears desperately poor, so naturally, the pirates assumed plundering their resource planet would be effortless. Under ordinary circumstances, they would have been correct. Yet Liam's extraordinary mech combat skills completely flipped the odds in their favor. That said, if the pirates were to assault them with their full strength now, there's absolutely no chance Liam's forces could emerge victorious in their current state. Liam isn't happy that more than 70% of his ships can't be used. Amagi then tells him she has a solution and proposes that he should scrap all the damaged ships. However, Brian quickly disagrees, arguing that removing the non-operational ships would weaken their military numbers, making them appear vulnerable to enemies. While that might be the case, maintaining all those broken down ships would drain their funds with endless repair costs, and Liam isn't willing to cover those expenses. So he sides with Amagi's suggestion. However, to ease Brian's worries, Amagi explains that they can simply purchase additional ships to make up for the ones being scrapped. Plus, if they sell off all the valuable metals recovered from the pirate ships, the profits should be more than enough to fund an entirely new fleet. That way, financing won't pose a problem. In another scene, Niaz is delivering a presentation to unveil her latest ship design, and she takes great pride in it, having enhanced the output by 7% while also improving the ship's responsiveness and ease of maintenance. She assures that, should her ships be adopted, the Imperial Army's fleet will grow even more formidable than it currently is. Up next is a presentation by Ulysses, who represents the third weapons factory, showcasing a new ship model. The ship offers all the charm and sophistication of hotel, complete with various entertainment and leisure options, making it something the crew will no doubt enjoy using. Nia's ships undoubtedly outperform the competition in raw combat strength, but they lack the finer touches in luxury and crew accommodations, which is why the Imperial Army ultimately chooses to purchase from Ulysses instead. Nia's protests, insisting her ship will be stronger since she dedicated all available resources to maximizing its battle prowess. However, Ulysses counters by claiming her ships are equally capable in a fight. Besides, she argues, a ship's effectiveness isn't just about its firepower. It also hinges on the crew operating it, and if the sailors are well rested and comfortable, they'll fight with far greater determination and endurance. After leaving the presentation room, Ulysses smugly boasts about the Empire choosing her over Niaz, but Niaz isn't ready to give up just yet. She admits she may have lost this round, but she vows to prove that her ship design outperforms in real combat. The problem is, she's already spent her entire budget on this project, and unless she can find someone crazy enough to buy all her unsold ships, she might be forced to file for bankruptcy. And realistically, who would be eccentric enough to purchase a ship model that even the Imperial Army turned down? At that moment, she recalls someone who might be interested in purchasing them. After all, if Liam was ready to invest heavily in repairing an obsolete mech, he'd likely have no issue acquiring an unwanted ship model. While all of this was going on, the guide has been spending most of his time on Earth, toying with people just to enjoy their misery. But none of that should compare to the agony Liam must be experiencing right now. The last time the guide saw him, he sent Liam to another world with terrible parents who saddled him with their debt, so naturally, he expects to find Liam and his territory in complete ruin. But to his complete surprise, the planet is somehow thriving. He's furious that his scheme to make Liam suffer didn't work out. Still, there's one last thing he needs to look into. When Liam requested a swordsmanship instructor, the guide deliberately sent Yasushi, a total fraud who couldn't wield a sword, so there's no chance Liam actually learned anything useful from him. Meanwhile, in a bar, a few of the locals are talking about how good the economy has become under Liam's rule. But while everyone is just glad to have Liam as their lord, Yasushi thinks Liam is a monster. Yasushi knows he's a fraud, and he was just trying to keep up the act by giving Liam impossible tasks over and over. But Liam actually managed to learn and master techniques that Yasushi didn't even know were possible. Upon hearing Yasushi's comment, the guide is utterly confused, unsure of what Yasushi means. He decides to check on Liam and discovers him engaged in training. He observes as Liam obliterates a post without even making contact, leaving the guide in disbelief at the sight. Convinced he didn't grant Liam any extraordinary powers, he concludes that Liam's advancements are due to his own efforts. The guide struggles to comprehend how Liam could be thriving so remarkably in a world like this. And honestly, Liam wasn't expecting it either, because getting abandoned by your parents and being plunged into debt at the age of 5 is a great way to ruin someone's life. But one way or another, things worked out, and now the economy of his territory is improving, and Liam is finally living his dream life, all thanks to the guide. The guide finds all of Liam's positive emotions leaving a bitter taste in his mouth, and he absolutely despises it. Once he refreshes himself by indulging in some of Yasushi's negative emotions, he regains his calm and begins formulating a fresh scheme to destroy Liam's life. Sure, Liam might be thriving at the moment, but hitting rock bottom is even more painful when you're just about to reach the top. Right now, Liam is discussing the ship's situation with Amagi, and he wants to know if she has found any leads. Amagi tells him that the Imperial Army is apparently upgrading their fleet to a new model, so they are selling off their old ones at a discounted rate. Even if they are outdated models, Imperial ships are still very powerful, so Liam is on board with the idea of buying them. However, Amagi informs him that there's one condition attached to the purchase. They must agree to retain all the current crew members aboard those ships. Essentially, the Empire is trying to unload all the personnel they no longer wish to keep. Taking on all those soldiers would undoubtedly come at a high cost, but given their current budget, Amagi believes they can manage it. On top of that, many of the crew are experienced officers with valuable expertise, so bringing them on board would significantly enhance the strength of Liam's forces. When Amagi puts it like that, it sounds like a good idea, so Liam agrees to the deal. The guide hears all of this, and he thinks he can use this as an opportunity to plunge Liam into despair. He plans to pull some strings and send very earnest people as part of the soldiers that Liam will be hiring. And with how Liam claims to be an evil lord, it will only be a matter of time before he gets overthrown for his tyranny. While all of that is going on, Yasushi is at home nursing a hangover, questioning how his life ended up like this. But then he suddenly hears Nia's voice, and he immediately pulls himself together and resumes his role as the composed swordmaster. At first, Nia's wasn't so sure about Yasushi, but after witnessing how much progress Liam has made under his guidance, she's now certain that he must be a highly capable teacher. Yasushi is surprised that Nia's would come to see him on her own, so he thinks he might have a chance with her. But in reality, she just came to get information about Liam. However, the way she words her questions makes Yasushi think she's talking about him. Nia's wants to know how to convince Liam to listen to her sales pitch, but she's worried that it would seem rude to go up and just ask. So she asks Yasushi for his opinion on how to put a man in a good mood. Yasushi assumes she's trying to get tips on how to seduce him, but he's nervous she might find him strange. Still, Nia's begs him to share because she desperately wants to know how to win a man's favor. Seeing her this desperate, Yasushi doesn't hold back and immediately starts listing every fetish he's ever had. Nia's is left speechless for a few moments, and Yasushi begins to fear he might have gone overboard. But then, Nia's calmly asks if she should wear stockings too. Yasushi is surprised. She doesn't think he's weird now, but he tells her stockings are good too. So Nia's sincerely thanks him for his advice. A few hours later, Nia's shows up at Liam's castle to see him, and she is wearing the exact outfit Yasushi described in hopes of seducing Liam. Liam isn't stupid enough yet. He can can sense right away that Niaz is plotting something. Given what he knows about her, she probably wants him to purchase something. Niaz confesses that she's hoping he'll buy the newest model of the battleships she designed, but Liam shuts her down without hesitation. Niaz begs him to at least hear her out before refusing, but Liam doesn't need to listen to the sales pitch because he already bought several used battleships from the Imperial Army, so he has no need for Niaz's ships. Niaz still tries to convince him with her ship stats, but while the ships do seem impressive, Liam tells her to go sell them to the Imperial Army if she wants to make a sale so badly. Niaz confesses that she already gave that a shot, but she failed during the presentation and wasn't able to sell any of her ships, so she asked Liam if he'd consider buying some, maybe just 100 or 200, since it would be a huge help to her. She even offers to help him secure a loan if that's what it takes, but Liam cuts her off and tells her to stop, as he absolutely refuses to even think about falling into debt again. Niaz is starting to get anxious, so she starts undressing in an attempt to seduce Liam into buying the ships, but all it does is remind Liam of how his wife in his previous life probably used the same tactic on his boss. Deep down, he knows Niaz isn't that type of person, so in order to get her to stop trying to seduce him, he agrees to purchase some ships. He turns to Amagi and inquires whether there's any remaining money in the budget, to which Amagi responds that they have enough funds to purchase approximately 300 of Niaz's ships. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Niaz expresses her thanks and assures them she'll dispatch the ships immediately. However, as she turns to leave, she stumbles over her own feet. Liam does find Niaz beautiful and can't ignore the fact that her design and technical abilities are exceptional, though she can be a bit of a disaster sometimes. Meanwhile, out in the corridors, Niaz is eagerly instructing her team to get 300 ships ready for sale. Her co-worker is shocked to learn that she actually managed to find a buyer for their ships, but Niaz confidently declares that it's all because of her irresistible charm. At that moment, Yasushi happens to walk by and suddenly understands that everything she asked him earlier was part of her plan to seduce Liam, and now Yasushi is absolutely furious. Meanwhile, over in the throne room, Liam is having his ears cleaned by Amagi, and he's feeling completely content since everything around him is calm and peaceful. Some time passes, and Niaz eventually delivers all the ships that Liam bought from her. Once they're securely docked, Liam and Amagi board to take a look. Liam is pleased to have acquired some of the newest ships, though he now understands why the Empire opted for the other models. These ones lack any trace of luxury. Niaz argues back, insisting that luxury designs have no place in combat, but that doesn't negate the reality that people still prefer them. Niaz quickly explains the maintenance needs for this ship to Liam. She even proposes an extended warranty for future tune-ups, but Liam declines, saying he won't require it to complete the purchase. She asks him to sign the receipt. However, there's one additional request she had in mind. She inquires if he'd be willing to hand over a few of the pirate ships he seized recently, but Liam shuts her down right away. He explains that he intends to incorporate those ships into his own fleet, but Niaz pushes back, arguing that Liam could at least part with 1 or 2 ships. Just as Liam prepares to deny her once more, Amagi interrupts with a suggestion. She proposes that they could hand over the ship Niaz wants, but only if Niaz agrees to retrofit the remaining pirate ships to make them compatible with Liam's fleet. After all, pirate ships rely on foreign tech from outside the Empire, meaning integrating them properly would be no small task. Niaz gladly accepts the deal since standardizing a handful of ships is a minor effort compared to the priceless data she'd gain from analyzing unfamiliar alien tech. As Liam considers it, the idea of personally inspecting one of the pirate ships actually sounds intriguing. He proposes they go take a look at one of them immediately. Soon after, the 3 of them reach one of the pirate ships, which turns out to be completely different from the battleships Liam is familiar with. Niaz is thrilled, seeing it as a treasure trove of fresh innovations she can replicate. Liam's just as thrilled, having spotted a steering wheel right in the center of the control room, and he really likes the look of it. He asks Niaz to add one to his own ship once they return, but she responds that it would be pointless, as the standard control panel offers far greater precision. Liam couldn't care less about efficiency. That steering wheel is just plain cool, and that's all that matters to him. Meanwhile, Niaz continues exploring the ship, growing more astonished with each new discovery. The gravity lasers in this thing somehow rotate along an imaginary planet, and it even has converted ether generators. She's absolutely eager to dive into the data back at her lab. While Niaz is still getting her bearings, Liam catches sight of what appears to be a dog in the corner. This prompts him to go after it. Noticing Liam behaving oddly, Amagi checks in to see if he's okay, and Liam tells her he was certain he spotted a dog just moments ago, but now it's nowhere to be seen. The path leads them to this door. Liam and Amagi step inside, only to realize they've entered the ship's navigation room. Amagi powers it up and clarifies that this room records every route this ship has ever taken. Judging by the map in front of them, it seems the pirates have been pillaging planetary systems throughout the Algrand Empire, which isn't surprising. But upon examining the data more carefully, Amagi notices something unusual. The ship's travel routes follow a distinct pattern. Every time the pirates finished looting a planet, they would head back to the Empire via a warp gate, then make a brief jump to the border. This area has long served as a war zone between the Empire and various other nations, which makes it extremely difficult to keep track of what's happening there, making it an ideal hiding spot for a band of pirates. Liam asks for the coordinates for the short warp, but it turns out the coordinates shift every time the pirates come back from a looting run. Amagi starts examining the various coordinates, plotting them against the trajectory of a tiny rogue planet drifting through deep space. Given its erratic orbit, reaching it would be impossible without knowing its exact location in advance. Amagi suspects it could be the pirates' hidden base, but Liam is convinced the planet must be a treasure island, a place where the pirates stash all their stolen goods. Armed with their new findings, Amagi turns to Liam and asks what his next move will be. Without hesitation, he declares his intention to plunder the treasure planet. Meanwhile, the surviving pirates from Liam's earlier battle have finally stumbled back to Goz. Goz is upset that his crew allowed some lowly noble to humiliate the infamous Goz pirates. There's no way he's going to let Liam walk away after this, so he commands all his men to prepare for war, declaring that they're going to obliterate the entire Banfield territory. But before that, he needs to deal with the pirates who lost to a mere child and disgraced the name of the Goz pirates. To punish them, he seals them inside a capsule and then detonates it. At the same time, Liam's fleet wastes no time and launches their assault on the treasure planet. But first, they must pass through the Domus warp gate. Their planned route would take them from Domus to the Pomonia warp gate, but when Amagi requests clearance to proceed, her authorization is abruptly denied. Liam asks her what's the matter, and Amagi explains that their passage was just denied due to an unpaid toll. Right at that moment, a transmission comes through from the warp gate operator to Liam's ship. The operator informs Liam that the toll for using this warp gate is calculated based on the mass being transported and the length of the jump. And since Liam intends to move his entire fleet to the Pomonia gate, the fee is going to be quite substantial. Liam mentions that he's okay with covering the fee, but unfortunately, he didn't bring any cash along. Because of that, he offers to settle the payment once he returns. However, the operator refuses, explaining that the Banfield house is known for having unpaid debts. For that reason, he can't allow them to proceed without paying the fee up front. Naturally, if Liam could find a reliable person to vouch for him with a letter of credit, the manager might be willing to let him pass. But given that nobody trusts the Banfield house, that's going to be a tough. Liam insists that he'll settle the fee once he returns, but the operator points out there's no assurance Liam will even come back at all. Because of that, he still can't allow it. Liam considers going home to fetch the money for the toll, but that would burn through a lot of extra fuel, so instead, he requests to speak with the manager. To his dismay, the operator reveals that he is the manager, the one in charge of the entire facility, so Liam says he is coming to yell at him in person. Amagi asks Liam if he's sure about this, since if the manager wasn't willing to compromise earlier, then he probably isn't going to change his mind even if Liam goes down there. However, Liam is confident that his excellent negotiation skills will convince the manager to make an exception for them. At the same time, Goz and his entire fleet have just reached the Pomonia gate, intending to use it to warp to the Domus gate. From there, he plans to head directly to the Banfield territory to demolish everything Liam has tirelessly built. He reaches out to the Pomonia gate's operator, informing him of his desire to travel to the Domus gate, and slips the operator a small bonus to ensure no questions are asked. The operator happily accepts the bribe and informs Goz that his wormhole will be prepared in just a few minutes. At the Domus gate, Liam approaches the front desk, hoping the manager will grant grant his ship's passage through the warp gate. The operator holds no personal grudge against Liam, but just like last time, he explains that passage is impossible until the toll is paid. Liam begs him to reconsider, asking if there's any possible way the manager could make an exception, but the rules are strict, and the manager has no particular reason to bend them for Liam's sake. At that moment, the manager receives a message from the Pomonia gate, informing him that Goes and his pirate fleet are on their way to this gate. He tells Liam that he has more pressing issues to deal with and walks away, leaving Liam alone in the reception area. Liam is stunned that his negotiation tactics didn't work this time, but as he broods, he catches sight of that same dog spirit from earlier and decides to follow it once more. Back in the control room, the manager and his crew finalize the wormhole connection between Domus and Pomonia, clearing the way for Goze's forces to come through. Given the distance, they estimate it'll take roughly half an hour for Goze and his armada to arrive. One of the technicians hesitates, asking the manager if this is truly acceptable. This setup means the Goze pirates will emerge directly in front of Liam's fleet in the holding zone, and knowing Goze, he won't hesitate to destroy Liam's ships the moment he arrives. However, the manager doesn't care because Goze already gave him enough bribe money, so he tells everyone to take a break and leave the control room because they can't be blamed for anything if they aren't here to see it happen. By coincidence, just a few minutes after the manager and his team vacate the control room, Liam ends up wandering in by accident. He quickly realizes that this is the control room for the warp gate, but he's puzzled as to why no one is around. Curious, he checks the monitor, and to his surprise and excitement, he sees that the Domus warp gate is already linked to the Pomonia warp gate. He figures the manager must have taken pity on him and set up the connection so he could travel to Pomonia without having to pay the toll. However, upon closer inspection of the monitor, Liam notices the wormhole is actually flowing the wrong way. He figures the manager must have just slipped up, so he starts adjusting the controls, trying to correct the direction. After some tinkering, he successfully reverses the wormhole's flow, but in doing so, he accidentally splits it into an unexpected fork. Now, anyone already traveling through it would be spat out at some unpredictable point in space. Of course, Liam assumes the wormhole is completely empty. At that moment, Liam receives an urgent call from Amagi, telling him to return to the ship immediately. She's secured a letter of credit for them. Liam is stunned by the news and quickly asks who helped them out. Once he's back on board, Amagi reveals it was Niaz who vouched for them. Niaz explains that after Liam rescued her by purchasing her ships and even allowed her to claim a few pirate ships, this was the smallest favor she could do in return. She owed him far more than this. After all, Liam expresses his gratitude to Niaz for her assistance. With the warp gate already configured thanks to his earlier adjustments, he leads his fleet through the passage. Moments later, they emerge at the Pomonia gate. From there, it's just one quick short-range jump to reach the rogue planet. Meanwhile, Goze remains trapped in the wormhole. Unaware that Liam has outmaneuvered him, he's growing suspicious as they've been in the wormhole for an extended period. At that moment, his crew reports that they're nearing a wormhole exit, relieving Goze. However, as they emerge from the gate, he's horrified to realize that he and his fleet have arrived directly in the heart of the Imperial War Fleet's training zone, surrounded by over 70,000 ships. While Goze's fleet is being annihilated, Liam's fleet has just made its arrival at the rogue planet, and the moment they get a clear view of Goze's planet and his army, Liam gives the order for everyone to start the assault. There are about 20,000 pirate ships stationed here, nearly 2 or 3 times larger than Liam's fleet, but since the majority of those ships are currently inactive, Liam's sudden strike takes the pirates by surprise. Several pirate ships attempt to retaliate, but they're unprepared for what's coming next. Liam gears up with his mech and moves to his ship's chamber, allowing Amagi to launch him into the battlefield. Once deployed, he swiftly begins obliterating the pirate forces until none remain. Now that the majority of the pirates have been eliminated, Liam instructs Amagi to deploy a number of his troops to clean up any remaining pirates. Meanwhile, Liam intends to scour the rogue planet in search of Goze's hidden treasure. Liam and his armada launch an assault on the treasure planet, obliterating its outer surface to forge an entry path. Inside the planet, a scientist begins to panic as the relentless attacks from Liam's forces shatter what little is left of their defenses. In desperation, he rushes to the control room, where he discovers they are under attack and that every pirate ship stationed around the planet has already been wiped out. Meanwhile, Liam has at last reached the inner parts of the planet, and he finds himself confronted by pirates wearing mecha suits. Without hesitation, he cuts them down, and by the time his troop captain reaches him, the job is already finished. The captain informs him that their side of the pirates has been dealt with as well, and Liam commands them to continue clearing the way while hunting for the treasure room. Out of nowhere, he spots the dog once more and makes the choice to track its path. This proves to be the correct move, as the trail guides him straight to the control room, where the scientist and his men give up without a fight. Liam is satisfied with the outcome and demands that the scientist surrender all the treasure. The scientist questions what kind of treasure he's referring to, explaining that he has valuable items as well as the exotic pets that Captain Goes is known to collect. Liam believes the dog he spotted earlier must be one of the pets, so he questions the scientist further about them. The scientist begins to suspect that Liam, like him, is an evil man who enjoys transforming people into pets. He even offers to convert the pets into obedient dogs for Liam if he'd like. Liam doesn't understand a single word of what he's saying, so the scientist makes the choice to guide him into the lab where all his specimens are kept. As he reveals the girls transformed into grotesque monsters by his experiments, one soldier vomits, unable to handle the sight. While the captain berates him for his weakness, Liam steps forward, his eyes locking onto a specific specimen. The scientist remarks that he has good instinct. This one happens to be Goz's favorite pet. While he rambles on about how this girl is his greatest creation, Liam feels a surge of disgust, recalling his own past where he was treated as nothing more than trash. He can't stand to watch some monster harming others in such a way, so while the scientist is lost in his frenzy, Liam shoots him right in the head. After that, he begins scanning the room, but then Christiana's voice calls out to him. She demands to know who he is, and Liam responds by introducing himself, declaring that he seized control of this planet and eliminated the one who was in charge. Christiana is brought to tears upon hearing this, believing that her torment will at last come to an end. She pleads with Liam to free her and the other girls from their misery, as they can never return to being human. Yet, Liam vows that he will save them all, but in exchange, they must repay him for this favor. He walks off after saying that, instructing his soldiers to summon a medic and have the girls transported to his ship so they can receive treatment. Still, Christiana pleads with him to stop, knowing that she's beyond saving, and while the captain feels sorry for her, he can't go against Liam's direct command. He attempts to persuade Liam to reconsider, pointing out that healing the girls won't be easy. They would have to regenerate their entire bodies from scratch, which would require an elixir and highly skilled doctors. He argues that this won't be worth it, but Liam responds that he's feeling generous today, and performing a few good deeds now and then never hurt anyone. At that very moment, a message comes in from Amagi. They've located the real treasure room. Liam is pleased by the news, as they've just secured the means to cover the cost of the girls' treatment. Meanwhile, in a flashback, we see Christiana as the former Princess Knight of the Holy Kingdom, celebrated by all for her heroic campaigns against space pirates. But during her fateful battle against Goz and his crew, she fell victim to deception and was taken prisoner. The ultimate cruelty came when the pirates destroyed her home world before her very eyes, leaving her helpless to stop them. Her family was thrown into a panic, knowing that the pirates shouldn't have been able to get through the United Alliance forces guarding the area. But it didn't take long for them to realize that the Alliance had turned on them. The protective shields were failing fast, and before long, the entire planet was wiped out. Christiana was broken by this tragedy, but her suffering had only just begun. After annihilating her world, Goz transported her and her surviving subordinates to his treasure planet. Though terror gripped the others, Christiana hoped that rescue would arrive any moment. When Christiana saw Goz approach, she defiantly told him that if he wished to kill her, he should do it immediately. She preferred death over enduring a life filled with shame. Goz explains that if her death had been his intention, he would have taken her life much earlier. Instead, he kept them all alive because his true desire was to add them into his collection. He then announced that he had reconsidered and decided to free only one of the girls. He demanded that Christiana make the choice, and under pressure, she selected the girl who appeared the most frightened. But this was a cruel trick, as Goes handed the girl Christiana picked to the scientist, who turned her into a monster and began dissecting her body. Christiana, completely distraught, pleaded with Goes to stop, but he only laughed in response. He informed her that if he were to stop his actions now, the girl would surely die. With no other option, Christiana was forced to allow the cruel scientist to continue his experiments on the helpless girl. He transformed her into a monster before long, and as Christiana stared in horror, Goes informed her that she would soon be changed into something even more disgusting. She demanded to know how he could possibly do such a thing, and he replied that it brought him pleasure. He explained that it wasn't fair for him to be so hideous, so he took beautiful girls and turned them into grotesque monsters, relishing their utter breakdown. Before long, he pulled her into the experiment chair, and Christiana's courage completely crumbled. She pleaded with Goes to stop, offering to do anything in exchange, but he only laughed in response, declaring that from now on, she would be his favorite pet. He admitted that he had deliberately avoided choosing her first because he wanted to witness just how hideous she would become, and how much she would suffer from it. Goes then ordered the scientist to pluck Christiana's eyeballs and plant them in her hands so that she could see how ugly she was even without a mirror. Christiana kept crying, but it was all pointless, and she was turned into a mangled monster. And then the rest of her girls suffered the same fate. Back in the present, Liam arrives back on his planet, where Nia shows up to visit him. Having heard about his success at the pirate planet, she suggests he should purchase more battleships to mark his victory. Liam tells her to quit trying to scam him, but Nia insists that her battleships proved valuable and that he made a hefty profit from the raid, so it's only right he reinvests some of that money. She tries seducing him again, but Liam is in no mood to fall for her tricks, so he tells her to go away. When her plans to seduce and blackmail him don't work, Nia reminds Liam that she was the one who got him the permission to enter the warp gate, and he finally agrees to listen to her request this time. He turns to Amagi and asks how many ships they can afford with the treasure they recovered. She replies that, after subtracting all the essential costs, they still have enough funds to purchase 5,000 ships. Liam is stunned by the number, but before he can even process it, Nia dashes off, shouting that she'll go ahead and prepare an order for 5,000 ships. Liam quickly runs after her, desperate to stop her before she actually arranges for that many ships. Meanwhile, Yasushi strolls through the hallways, trying to figure out what justification he should use this time to request additional funds from Liam. At that moment, Nia walks by, speaking on a call with a coworker, proudly saying that she secured a massive order from Liam after a bit of persuasion. Yasushi then spots her exiting Liam's room, and his anger flares up, much to the delight of the guide, who has been lurking nearby, eagerly waiting for Liam to experience some strong negative emotions. Meanwhile, Liam is still searching for Nia's, but Yasushi reaches him first and tells him to come along. He leads Liam to the training grounds, where Liam is blindfolded and his sword is weighed down before starting yet another one of Yasushi's intense training sessions. Yasushi has set up 100 drones that fire tennis balls at Liam from every angle, and at an even faster speed than last time. Liam struggles to react in time, repeatedly getting struck by the projectiles, and then Yasushi cranks up the intensity even further. Liam collapses to the ground, protesting that it's impossible to deflect every attack with just one sword, but Yasushi cuts him off, refusing to accept excuses and ordering him to figure out the solution on his own. That sparks an idea in Liam. Why not use magic again, just like before? But this time, he focuses on defense. He attempts to channel his magic into a protective barrier and pulls it off instantly, the shield deflecting every single ball. Yasushi is caught off guard by Liam's quick mastery. Not stopping there, Liam then reverses the barrier's energy, hurling all the projectiles back toward their sources, obliterating every drone in one swift counterattack. Liam then takes off his blindfold and asks Yasushi if he did a good job, but Yasushi has already been hit by several tennis balls. He begins to panic, realizing that Liam is actually a true genius and will eventually uncover his scam. He already knows that Liam has dealt with corrupt officers and taken down pirate fleets, and now he fears that once Liam learns the truth, he'll be the next to be eliminated. Realizing he needs to flee before things take a turn for the worse, Yasushi begins to back away, but Liam questions where he's going, and Yasushi quickly responds that he has no more lessons lessons left to give. He explains that Liam has already mastered everything he could teach him. Now, all that's left is to practice freely, as the way of the sword is a journey without end. Liam shouts that he doesn't want this and insists he should continue training under Yasushi, but Yasushi snaps back, ordering him to stop behaving like a little child. He explains that, despite his own skills, he also needs to keep growing, and having Liam constantly relying on him won't help with that. Yasushi then turns to face Liam and declares that he has officially graduated. He is now a true master of the way of the Flash. He explains that as a master, it is Liam's responsibility to carry their sword style across the universe. Liam happily accepts the task, but the moment Liam turns his back, Yasushi sprints away as fast as he can. For Liam, this moment brings a sense of fulfillment unlike anything he's ever known. He's almost out of debt. His domain is thriving. He's triumphed over pirates, and now his own master has recognized his abilities. He expresses his gratitude to the guide for everything, but before Liam's sheer wave of positivity can crush him completely, the guide makes a swift escape, vanishing into another world. Liam looks at a map and says he isn't satisfied with it, so Brian asks why. Liam explains that ever since he was born on this planet, he had decided to become an evil lord who would run an oppressive government and enjoy people's suffering. Brian remarks that it's an unusual ambition, but Liam says he was exploited in his previous life and now wants revenge to repay his debt. Amagi quickly comments that he should pay off his debts, or else all his money will be lost to interest, and Liam frustratedly tells her he wasn't talking about financial debts, but about the humiliation he suffered in his past life. Brian says it will take some time for the pirate's treasure to be appraised, as the appraisers are very busy, and Liam angrily says both Brian and Amagi ignore him too much. He thinks to himself that it doesn't matter, as from now on, he'll enjoy being purely evil. He makes a list of things oppressors have: power, money, and women. For power, he has already learned a brilliant style known as the Way of the Flash, while he still has room to improve. He is now a skilled swordsman, leaving only money and women. While he's lost in thought, Amagi approaches and says that Sir Thomas from Henfrey Trading Company is here to see him. Sir Thomas thanks Liam for destroying the space pirates and gives him a large amount of gold as a gift. Liam happily gets up to inspect the gold and asks Thomas what he wants in return. Thomas explains that his company must pass through a dangerous space to conduct trade and requests 100 ships from Liam's fleet for protection. He says he doesn't want to do business in risky areas, but pirates keep appearing in multiple places, and many merchants have been raided. Liam asks Amagi about availability, and she tells him the new battleships are ready for deployment. She suggests sending the troops, as it would give them experience and serve as space training. Liam agrees to send the troops, but demands more gold, which Thomas accepts. On his way out, Thomas tells his driver that the Banfield domain has become quite prosperous, as the young lord has revitalized it using tax money. Thomas says Liam is making intelligent decisions as if it's only natural, which shows he's an exceptional ruler. The driver asks why Liam always demands gold, and Thomas admits he doesn't know, but since it makes business easier, he doesn't mind. He even calls Liam generous for simply accepting gold instead of charging the actual cost that such support would demand. Meanwhile, Brian says he's glad Liam has reached a position where people offer him bribes, but wonders why Liam likes gold so much. Liam tells him that gold is the symbol of the newly rich. He instructs Amagi to process the gold into coins and make a gold bath out of them. Brian assumes it's because gold is hygienic and ideal for a bathroom, but Liam doesn't care, as he believes that by accepting bribes, he's finally turning evil. Now that he's solved the money part, only women remain. He announces he'll create a harem. He goes to the castle ballroom and tells Brian and Amagi that he asked the robot maids to remodel the room so he can fulfill his dream: enough alcohol to fill a pond and enough meat to make a forest. He plans to throw a party of extravagance, literally filling a pond with alcohol, hanging meat from statues, and lining up beautiful women to complete his harem. However, Amagi seems confused, but Liam quickly tells her she can't stop him from splurging, as he is the head of the house. She replies that she didn't intend to stop him. Spending at this level isn't much, but warns that filling an entire pool with alcohol will release fumes, making the room dangerous. She adds that it could even cause an explosion, and that drinking from a pool would be filthy. Liam hesitates and says he'll install water purifiers, but Amagi tells him that they would filter out all the alcohol, leaving only water behind. Liam now wants to swim in the pool, but is disgusted by the idea of drinking purified alcohol that someone swam in. Brian says he would never let Liam do something so unhygienic, and also protests against the hanging meat. Amagi agrees, saying that hanging processed meat would make the ballroom look like a delicatessen. Liam quickly says that would feel like looking at the fridge, so he doesn't want that. Amagi then says that hanging raw meat would make it look like a butcher shop, which also wouldn't fit. She asks if he'd prefer to hang plates with meat dishes instead, but Liam rejects that too. Brian grows angry, saying Liam can't eat anything that's been hanging too long. Amagi supports him, explaining that food left in the open air not only breeds bacteria, but also loses most of its flavor. Liam is disappointed and says the more he thinks about it, the harder it gets, but firmly declares he won't give up on creating a harem. He says he'll fool around with many women, and Amagi and Brian support him, saying that as the ruler of the planet, he has the right to have as many women as he wants. Brian adds that he was worried Liam worked too hard and assumed he was too young to be interested in women. But Liam has already fallen for various honey traps, such as buying several warships after being seduced by Lieutenant Nias. He urges Liam to produce an heir as soon as possible, though Liam thinks that's going too far. Amagi summarizes that there's no problem with wanting a harem and encourages him to proceed. Liam steps forward and tells them to invite beautiful women, as he'll hand-pick the ones he likes. Brian interrupts, asking how large Liam plans his harem to be. Liam thinks 10 women would be enough, but as an evil lord, he decides to go bigger just to make people suffer. He announces that his harem will have 100 women, and he won't compromise on the number. But Brian questions how he can be satisfied with only 100 women. Liam turns to Amagi and asks if it's too few. Amagi replies that she expected around 10,000 women for his harem. She advises inviting at least 1,000, but Liam finds that excessive. Brian explains it's not about quantity, but exposure to meeting different women, so Liam can find one he genuinely connects with. He points out that Liam hasn't had even one woman yet, and Liam tries to argue that Amagi is a woman, but Amagi reminds him that she can't bear children, so she doesn't count in that regard. Liam says Amagi is his ideal woman, but Brian urges him to have real women around so he can produce an heir. Brian insists a harem of only 100 women won't do, and begs Liam to meet those who wish to join. Amagi then provides a list and asks Liam to select the candidates so she can summon them. Brian again tells Liam that he is the ruler of the entire planet, so most women would agree if he simply sent them an offer to join his harem. However, Liam gets angry, saying he is an evil lord and wants a woman who doesn't even want to be near him. He explains that in his past life, he was cheated on, so now he plans to cheat on many women and hurt them in return. He clearly states that he won't accept any woman who isn't beautiful or who submits to him willingly. With determined eyes, he declares he'll build a harem that truly satisfies him. Sometime later, he steps outside, saying that he's been in the mansion so long he hasn't had a chance to explore his own domain, so he knows nothing about its customs or culture. However, he thinks darkly about how the city and everyone in it belong to him. As he walks the streets, he starts scouting for women for his harem. He approaches a girl and asks if she wants to grab a drink, and she immediately agrees, putting him off. Liam quickly notices a bubble forming around her nose and then sees the same bubble on every woman in the city. He asks the girl what it is, but she assumes he's complimenting the new trend. Realizing it's fashionable, Liam ends up getting a nose balloon petite himself, though Brian explains it's just casual fashion among downtown people and not used in the mansion. Liam reflects on how women think everything is cute and complains that he hates the nose balloon, saying it makes people look like fools. Amagi offers to wear it if he dislikes it so much, but Liam angrily stomps on the accessory and orders her to ban it from the city. He wonders how so many cute girls could be so unappealing just because of that one ridiculous trend. He questions what happened to the fashion of this place. There isn't even a hint of sci-fi influence. He expected a futuristic world filled with sexy women, but instead, women wear bizarre animal costumes to the beach and expose no skin at all. Amagi explains that the full-body swimsuits are in style because they block all UV rays from the sun. She says it's part of the domain's culture, but Liam refuses to accept that and suggests developing better fashion. Amagi tells him that fashion is developing, but Liam insists it's going in the wrong direction. He orders her to gather gather fashion designers and models, arguing that if commoners see models wearing new styles, they'll follow the trend. He demands she bring the most famous designer on the planet, but she informs him that their debt makes that impossible. Signing a contract with someone of that fame would surpass the entire annual budget of the Banfield domain. Liam decides he can't change the planet's fashion, but he can gather beautiful women from his own domain and dress them however he wants in his mansion. However, Amagi tells him that most of the beautiful women in the city already work in the mansion, as appearance was part of the hiring criteria. She asks if he wants her to summon someone nearby to attend to his needs, but Liam says that seeing someone he knows as an employee doesn't put him in the mood. Then, suddenly shocked, he asks Amagi if he's allowed to sleep with the workers in the mansion. She tells him there's nothing wrong with that, as she only hired people who knew it was a possibility and were fine with it. Liam wonders why becoming evil is so difficult, as he can't even find a woman to force into. On the other side, Christiana wakes up in a medical center, where the doctor explains that her body has been recreated using regenerative medicine and that she is now back to normal. This shocks Christiana, and as she sits up, the doctor immediately tells her not to exert herself. Christiana touches her face, then begins to cry, saying that even if this is a dream, she's truly happy to have her body back, after suffering in that inhuman form for decades. The doctor assures her it isn't a dream and explains that they used elixir, the miracle drug, on her. Christiana is stunned, knowing how precious the drug is, but the doctor goes on to say that she'll now begin a serious rehabilitation program, which will allow her to use her body as before. Still confused, Christiana asks why they would use elixir on someone like her. The doctor then reveals that Liam built this facility and gathered a medical staff here specifically to save everyone who had been captured by the space pirates. Christiana recalls the moment she saw Liam rescuing her and vows to repay the favor however she can. Meanwhile, at the local bar, everyone is happy that Liam got more treasure from the pirates, and he is launching new local industries. A man jokingly wishes that he could get some time to rest, but the bartender tells him that he is always coming there to relax anyway. They thank Liam for all the recent progress, but the guide hears them, and their happiness makes him suffer. He thinks that according to his plan, this planet should be covered with the worst administration, placing everyone in debt and poverty. So how can they be so prosperous? He wonders if he made a mistake, but he doesn't think that's possible. Meanwhile, the soldiers he had sent to Liam's fleet discuss how the ships in Liam's army lack the elegance compared to the warships of the Imperial fleet, but they appreciate the practicality when it comes to combat. They are glad to be part of the Banfield house, as the nobles used to intervene in their old job, telling them to free the pirates. But Liam is a just ruler. The soldiers mention that he's quite young, and seeing him work like that makes them question what their old commanders were thinking. The guide sees them praise Liam, and he wonders why those soldiers, with such a strong moral code, are swearing loyalty to an evil lord. On the other hand, Yasushi enjoys himself next to a pool, and he's glad that Liam gave him a big reward so he can finally relax. But he suddenly hears the news about the Imperial fleet's admiral congratulating Liam on his successful attack on the pirate base, which shocks him. Liam praises Yasushi for teaching him the way of the Flash, but it worries Yasushi since he wanted to keep a low profile and enjoy his retirement. The guide looks at him, and he thinks that Yasushi was sent to waste Liam's time since he's a terrible teacher, so he wonders how Liam became an expert swordsman. Meanwhile, the Go's space pirates regroup after fleeing the pursuing Imperial fleet, which relieves Commander Go's, so he asks for a report. He is informed that around 30,000 ships are left, but the 2,000 ships they used as decoys were all consumed by the Imperial army, but he isn't worried about that since they were expendable for him. He wonders how they arrived in the Imperial fleet's practice space when they were supposed to be heading to the Banfield domain. His assistant tells him that they were supposed to exit through the Domus gate, but perhaps someone changed the setting, so Go's wishes to punish them for betraying him. The guide arrives there, and he brainwashes Go's into thinking that his real enemy is Banfield, so they should be attacking him instead. Go's gets enraged at Liam for attacking his treasure island, and he tells his men to start moving towards their original target, the Banfield domain, making the guide happy as he wants Liam to get depressed and hopeless. Meanwhile, Liam's new maids serve him soup, but Amagi notices he doesn't look happy, so she wonders if there is something wrong with the food. He tells her that it's alright, but he is thinking what an evil lord's meal should really look like. She doesn't doesn't understand, so he tells her that it should carry the image of heartily laughing with his subordinates, while forcing the women to serve mounds of meat and liquor. Amagi wonders if he would like hanging meat from the ceiling, but he rejects it, so she suggests forming a mountain of food, but he doesn't like that either since he would feel bad for wasting the food. Amagi suggests inviting officials to chat over dinner, but he doesn't like the idea of people talking about work while eating. Amagi believes there is only one option left, that she would send women to accompany him to his dinner table, so he wonders if she's okay with that. Amagi replies yes, saying she can summon them at any time, but he tells her it isn't what he is asking. Liam asks her directly if she would be okay with him finding another woman, but she reminds him he currently doesn't have any woman in his life. However, he thinks she's being mean since he has her. Amagi reminds him that she is an AI robot and she can't even bear his children, but he gets irritated since she's talking just like Brian. Liam tells her that he isn't interested in the standard definition of woman, and he once again repeats his question, so Amagi tells Liam she has no concept of feelings, but his happiness is her top priority. Then, Amagi asks him if she should call the women, so Liam tells her that he already has so many, referring to the maid robots. Amagi wonders if she should consider them women too, but he tells her to stop asking such common things. Amagi thinks Brian won't be happy if he doesn't bring any women, but Liam tells her Brian doesn't understand his true dream, since women welcoming him won't stir any desires in him. She believes it will make things difficult, and he agrees. After that, Amagi gives him a detailed report on their economy, and she mentions that with the increased repayment of debts, they are paying less interest. But he wonders how much debt his parents left for him, that even the pirate's treasure isn't enough to pay it back. She assures him that their economy is slowly growing and they will soon pay it back. Liam thinks that he wants to be an evil lord, but things like paying his debt push him back. Amagi wonders what he wanted to do as an evil lord, so he tells her that he wishes to increase the taxes and make everyone suffer. But she objects because although it will temporarily increase their income, it would result in long-term loss. She thinks they should carefully observe the state of the economy, and if needed, they should increase the taxes. But he doesn't wish to hear such mature opinions since he wants to abuse his authority and become one of the exploiters. Amagi reminds him that if the economy of their region suffers, it will affect their ability to pay back debt. So he remembers how he was traumatized by debt collectors in his previous life as well. Amagi wonders if he's unsatisfied with the current state of affairs, because if that's the case, she will do everything in her power to resolve that. Liam tells her that he isn't unsatisfied because, despite what he says, the management is making progress. They are slowly paying off their huge debt, and he has learned the way of the Flash, so money and power are steadily flowing his way. He tells her that above everything else, he is happy to have her by his side, so how can he ever be unhappy with his life? He thinks he should use this opportunity and celebrate his good fortune by becoming an evil lord, but he realizes she won't understand him. Amagi accepts that being an AI, it's difficult for her to accept concepts like ambition and dream. However, she assures him of her support in whatever he desires. Liam feels happy and tells her that they will always be together, which she confirms. Meanwhile, the new AI maids clean the ballroom, and they feel that although the master made them with the max specs, they are being wasted cleaning rooms, which aren't even used anymore. They discuss how Liam gave them names, and although they look similar, one of them mentions that when she tried to copy the other maid's hairstyle, their master was still able to recognize her, and he called her by her name, making it a precious memory for her, which she has saved. Amagi suddenly arrives there and tells them not to tease Liam, and she even deletes the memory they were talking about. Amagi tells them that in the Albrand Empire, people don't like AI getting so close to their master, so it will harm his reputation. She also advises them against acting friendly with Liam unless he tells them to. But one of the maids questions if it's alright for Amagi to be so close to Liam, since she's an AI too. Amagi replies that it isn't alright, but it isn't under her control, and she is just following their master's orders. As Amagi leaves, the AI maids discuss how it's very difficult to understand her. Just then, Brian barges into Liam's room and informs him that the pirates have declared war on House Banfield, so a large number of pirate ships are gathering on the edge of the Alkia system. Liam finds it interesting that those pirates are taking the time to declare war on him instead of attacking directly, but Amagi thinks it's to give him time to grow frightened. He doesn't understand want her. So she tells him that they raided the pirate treasure island, so this is just revenge for that, and they won't be satisfied with simply killing him. Liam realizes she's right because this is the same person who enjoys torturing captives and mutilating their bodies. Amagi thinks he must have great confidence in his fleet to go out of his way and declare war on them, so Brian suggests calling a high-rank meeting to discuss their next step. After a while, the meeting begins as all the officials arrive there, so Brian reports that the pirates are led by the dangerous Captain Goes, who is heinous even for a pirate, and the Empire has placed a huge bounty on him. Liam thinks he came to settle the score, but Brian tells him that Goes has demanded all their assets and several hostages, including good-looking men and women, which enrages Liam, so Brian thinks he must really love his people. In reality, Liam is just angry that Goes is outshining him as a true villain, while he is struggling to become an evil lord. He decides not to forgive him, but one of the officials suggests negotiating with the pirates to settle it peacefully. Liam asks about the status of the pirate forces, so Brian tells him that they have composed modified warships, and the numbers are roughly 30,000, while Amagi adds that they only have 5,000 battleships that can be mobilized immediately. The general believes that numbers aren't everything in a fight, and even if they surrender, there is no guarantee that the pirates will fulfill their terms of the deal. Liam's advisor tells him that it's foolish to increase damages by fighting a battle they can't win, so he suggests they should wait for reinforcements from the Empire, but the general doesn't think they will reach there in time. Liam notes that although Goes has a big bounty on his head, it's not enough to risk everything and face 30,000 ships. Amagi notes that she has analyzed all the data from the pirate ships, and based on her calculations, they have a 3.8% chance of winning. Brian wishes that if Niaz's company had finished their latest weapon, it would have helped them a lot, but they suddenly freeze as the guide arrives there. The guide asks Liam if he has a moment to talk to him, but Liam tells him he's busy with something important. The guide mentions that he was the one who called the pirates, so Liam could defeat them and get their treasure, but Liam tells him he has already taken their treasure. The guide mentions that they have an even bigger treasure, and if he defeats them, he will earn greater honor. He explains that he intentionally made him start from the bottom, so he could distinguish himself, earning an even greater fame, and Liam likes what he's hearing. As the guide leaves, everything returns to normal, so Liam tells them to get ready for war with the pirates, which shocks them because they don't have the resources to take on such a powerful enemy. Liam tells them that it's an order, and they must obey it regardless of what they think, so they should start preparing the ships. The preparations are soon completed, but Brian is still panicking, just as their territory was starting to stabilize. They're being dragged into a war with pirates. Amagi urges him to stay calm, reminding him that they haven't been defeated yet, and that Liam made the right call by choosing to fight. Brian points out that she herself estimated their odds of winning at only 3.8%, but Amagi counters by explaining that, based on her analysis, Goz's pirate army completely annihilates planets even after they surrender. In her view, even a 3.8% chance of victory is far better than giving in. Brian laments that if Liam had been born a century earlier, he would have had plenty of time to prepare and stand a better chance against the pirates. But Liam doesn't believe in taking his time. He sees preparation as something for cowards. Real men fight with their lives at stake. With that mindset, he leads his fleet into battle, even thanking the pirates for giving him another opportunity to earn wealth and fame in one bold move. The guide is certain Liam will be defeated and secretly wishes for Goes to transform him into a pet, ensuring his maximum suffering. He blames Liam for foolishly trusting him, especially after everything Liam endured in his past life, anticipating the moment Liam's trust and appreciation turn to bitter hatred. The guide looks forward to reveling in those powerful, negative emotions. At the same time, Goes receives word that Liam and his team are approaching. Thrilled at the chance to crush him utterly, he offers a bounty to anyone who can bring Liam in alive, intending to make him his personal plaything. Meanwhile, Liam's soldiers feel uncertain about the upcoming battle, but their trust in him keeps them steady. Liam, on the other hand, feels frustrated. 3 days have passed without any real action. He wonders why they can't just start the fight already. His crew explains that the war is already underway, just in a more strategic phase for now. They also inform him that they're already at a disadvantage due to the enemy's superiority superior numbers, which baffles Liam. He can't grasp how they're losing ground before the real fighting has even begun. Liam complains that they can't even see the enemy, to which the ship's captain explains that in space, actually spotting an enemy ship means they're already in close-range combat. But Liam isn't interested in military protocol. He just wants the explosions and action to begin. Impatient, he declares that they should charge in without delay. As the ship's radar alerts them to incoming enemies, the crew swiftly reports that 500 enemy ships have emerged right above their fleet. Liam questions why the pirates would send only 500 ships against them. The crew explains that those ships likely belonged to soldiers who surrendered to the pirates and were forced to fight for them to stay alive. They're nothing more than expendable pawns, sent as a diversion to disrupt Liam's fleet formation. Furious at Goes for sacrificing his weakest crew members as expendable pawns, Liam wipes out the attacking ships the moment they strike, but their destruction leaves a brief opening in his fleet's defenses. Seizing the opportunity, Goes commands his forces to charge forward, exploiting the momentary weakness. Liam's forces begin to pull back, and Goes assumes they're running out of fear. His fleet gives chase, but suddenly, the lead ships crash into hidden minefield cloaked by magic. The resulting explosions damage several ships, but Goes is unfazed. He has plenty of troops to spare. He coldly orders the front-line ships to clear the minefield by colliding into the traps, which only infuriates Liam even further. Not long after, both sides open fire, and Goes' fleet quickly deploys barrier ships to shield themselves from incoming attacks. Liam's forces begin to suffer hits, prompting the commanding officers to issue orders to establish a protective barrier around their main ship too. Liam asks what's going on, and the officers explain that they're mirroring the enemy's tactics to ensure his protection. But Liam is more worried about the vanguard, who will be positioned ahead of the barrier and left vulnerable to enemy attacks. One of the officers responds that their main objective is his safety, even if it means sacrificing countless soldiers. He tries to persuade Liam that by sticking to this plan and prolonging the fight, there's a chance the Imperial Army might eventually send reinforcements, but Liam isn't having it. He declares that he's an evil lord who takes what he wants by force, and once something is his, he never lets it go. He makes it clear that the ships and soldiers on the front lines are his possessions, and he won't allow anyone to throw them away without his approval. He commands his soldiers not to throw away their lives for his sake or to stall for time. Such tactics are beneath him. Instead, he declares they will annihilate the pirates immediately, and he himself will join the fight to lead them. Liam then instructs Amagi to prepare his mecha armor. When a military officer protests, Liam coldly demotes him on the spot and promotes Amagi as the new fleet commander. Amagi gets to work right away, analyzing the situation and determining the most effective strategy for victory. She commands all the ships to advance, leaving the military officers baffled by the bold move, but Liam tells them to follow her orders. She's in charge now. With that, he heads off to gear up for battle. Meanwhile, Amagi takes command and instructs all the ships to accelerate and follow her lead. The army officers doubt her, believing it's a mistake to let a robot lead the fleet, especially since she's steering their main ship straight into the front lines. But Amagi explains that once Liam enters the battlefield, there's no reason to hold the ship back. Instead, they should use it to shield him, as it's their most powerful ship. Her decisiveness and unwavering loyalty impress the top officials, who ultimately back her plan. As the fleet advances, Liam is catapulted into space. With a short-range warp, he suddenly appears right in the heart of the pirate formation. Goes, assuming Liam is attempting a suicidal mission to destroy a ship by self-destructing, commands his crew to target and fire on the ship emerging from the warp gate. To his surprise, only Liam's mecha shows up, effortlessly evading the pirates' barrage. Liam swiftly starts dismantling their forces. At that moment, his fleet arrives at the battlefield. They open fire on the pirate vessels while launching all their mechas, prompting Goes to send his own mechas in response. However, they are outclassed by Liam, who swiftly cuts them down before calling in his plasma cannons to strike the pirate ships. His relentless assault scatters the pirates, disrupting their formation. Seizing the opportunity, Amagi commands the entire fleet to charge straight through the heart of the enemy's disorganized ranks. Meanwhile, the Mechanites continue their fierce battle. Liam exhausts the ammunition in his plasma cannons just as a high-ranking pirate knight ambushes him. Seeing this opponent as a more challenging fight, Liam decides to enjoy the duel. As their blades clash, he realizes realizes the pirate knight is highly skilled. Impressed by Liam's swordsmanship, the pirate knight asks which training academy he attended. Liam announces that he's a disciple of the Way of the Flash, the greatest sword style in the world. But the pirate knight scoffs, claiming he's never heard of it in all his years as a seasoned swordsman. He mocks it as a fake sword style, but Liam isn't about to let that insult go unanswered. He unleashes the ultimate technique, instantly striking down the pirate knight. However, Liam quickly regrets it, realizing that if he keeps defeating his enemies in a single blow, there'll be no one left to spread the legend of the Way of the Flash. Suddenly, more pirate knights close in around him, loudly commenting on how impressive his strength is for someone from a low-ranking noble family. The remark about being poor infuriates Liam, and he responds by unleashing his ultimate move once again, wiping them all out. He continues to use the move, cutting down dozens of enemies in one quick move. But eventually, his mecha armor alerts him that his right arm has been damaged from overuse. Liam notices his armor can't handle the strain of his ultimate technique. Just as more pirates swarm him, they assault him from every direction, overwhelming his defenses until his shields fail, leaving him trapped. His forces also begin losing ground, and Amagi's calculations show their odds of victory have dropped to a mere 1%. Even so, Liam refuses to surrender, fighting with relentless determination. But his efforts aren't enough, and soon, he's surrounded, enemies closing in for the kill. But at that critical moment, reinforcements show up, and the pirates' knights behind Liam are wiped out in a single strike. Surprised, he wonders who just entered the fight. As the smoke clears from the explosions, he spots Christina in her mecha. Even though her rehabilitation isn't finished, she's determined to repay the favor she owes Liam, and her entire elite squad has joined her to support him. Moments later, Christina's elite unit charges into the fray as she commands them to annihilate the enemy. They rip through the pirate forces with ruthless precision, even turning their firepower on the pirate ships, revealing Christina's merciless side beneath her elegant appearance. She fights with a savage joy, relishing every pirate she crushes. Liam, impressed by her strength but unwilling to be overshadowed, quickly adapts, detaching his rocket punch and repurposing it as a massive, makeshift arm for his mecha, determined to steal back the spotlight. Now in full control of his enhanced arm, Liam spots a massive chunk of a wrecked spaceship and instantly uses his laser to forge it into a massive sword. Armed with his reinforced arm and the colossal blade, he unleashes an upgraded version of his ultimate move, obliterating enemy mechas and even entire battleships. The devastating strike shatters the pirates' formation, leaving them trembling in terror. Amagi runs the numbers and concludes their chances of victory have risen to 83%. She commands her fleet to concentrate their assault on one flank of the enemy formation. Meanwhile, Liam discards his mecha arm, summons a new sword, and charges straight at Ghost's ship, driven by the goal of capturing him and earning galactic fame. Liam cuts through the pirates with ease, certain that they are going to be really easy to deal with. Christiana watches this and is amazed at just how cool Liam is. But then a pirate tries to sneak up on her, but she easily stops the attack and fights that one and a couple more off with a wild look in her eyes. Liam keeps going with a lot of confidence, saying to himself that this time he is personally crushing anyone as heartless as those debt collectors that came after him in his past life, and it all feels like a dream come true. But just then, Amagi tells Liam that a new group of mobile knights are on their way. But Liam is not the least bit worried. He spent all that time training, so this should be no problem. While the battle goes on, Commodore watches Liam fight and starts to feel sorry for him. If only he had not been born as a noble. Maybe he could have lived a normal life. His parents left him behind at a young age and dumped their faraway domain on him. But even with all that, he can tell that Liam has gotten so much better and stronger as a leader. They deeply respect Liam because this is the first time they have ever seen a noble who truly cares about keeping his people safe. Meanwhile, Liam keeps fighting by launching several projectiles, but to his surprise, they get blocked by a shield squad. He thinks about jumping past their shields with a short distance warp, but they are already stopping that by blocking the ether wave lengths. Amagi looks at the situation and orders the ships to move at full speed toward the shields. The Imperial officers quickly ask ask her what she is doing, and she answers saying she is going to use the ship's cannons to break through the shields so that Liam can get past them. With that said, all units are told to get their cannons ready and focus the beams right at the shield. All the cannons fire at the same time, which manages to create a small hole in the center of the shield, which makes Goes start to panic a little. He orders all his units to head out and guard the hole in the shield while it gets patched up. But that small opening is all Liam needs to get inside and take down a whole lot more pirates. One of the pirates goes over to Goes and asks him what they should do, and he answers saying that if they are going to lose at this rate, their best move is to pull back. However, he tells him to only let the leadership squad know and to leave the rest behind. After that, he orders all the attack units to fire their cannons at Liam and not to worry about shots that go off course. They are to shoot Liam down even if it means hitting one of their own. Goes tells the pilot to hurry up and fly them out of there, but it is already too late. Liam lands on top of their ship and immediately starts tearing it apart. Goes quickly heads for the escape vessel, but that also gets destroyed in the process. Liam tells Goes there is no point in running because now he is going to make them pay. The other mobile knights arrive and Liam tells them it is time to begin their treasure hunt. However, they wonder if it is too dangerous to board the enemy ship in case they blow it up themselves. But Liam does not think that people who were planning on running away would go that far. Liam then lets loose his rocket punch technique, which sends several knight fists crashing into different parts of the ship, ripping it apart and causing even more damage. After that, they all head inside only to run into a group of pirates that are armed and ready for a fight. They draw their swords at Liam and challenge him to a duel to the death, sure that they will come out on top. However, Liam just calmly walks past them, lifts his sword slightly, and cuts them all in half in a single instant. The Imperial officers are caught off guard because even though they had heard Liam was a master, they never thought he would be this powerful. Meanwhile, the pirates at the front of the ship slowly start to realize that Goes has left them behind, and they slowly get picked off one by stray laser beams from the battle going on outside. Liam and the officers arrive to find Goes' second in command, who immediately starts begging Liam for mercy, and even offers to tell him where the treasure is being kept. But Liam is not interested and slices his head clean off without even fully drawing his sword. Meanwhile, the guide is puzzled at how Liam managed to get this strong and wonders what Yasushi must have been teaching him. Just the thought of Liam feeling grateful toward him makes his chest tighten. Right now, he is willing to do whatever it takes to get rid of Liam, so just this once, he is going to make an exception and gives Goes the power to do so. Goes is busy hiding on the other side of the ship, going back and forth on whether he should keep hiding or just beg for mercy. But that is when the guide's aura wraps around him. The guide offers him the chance to get his revenge on Liam by giving him power beyond anything he can imagine, and Goes does not pass up the chance and takes in the aura, which warps him into a purple-skinned, bigger and far stronger being. As Goes heads out to destroy Liam, the guide opens a way out and simply walks away, sure that Goes will be able to handle Liam. As Liam continues to move through the ship, he spots a gold cube on the floor and picks it up since he has a strong love for gold. After that, he notices something shoot past him, so he chases after it along with everyone else until they reach a dead end. But something tells him there is more to this wall, so he tells the officers to blast the door down. After they do, they find a hidden room packed with rare antiques. Liam does not really care about antiques since he sees them as nothing more than a pile of junk, but that changes when he comes across a one-of-a-kind katana. He pulls it out of its case, gives it a few test swings, and realizes it is really something special, so he decides to keep it and bring it into battle. But just then, one of the officers informs him that they have an emergency. The other officers are doing their best to hold Goes off, but their blasters are having no effect on him at all. Goes says he does not want to waste his time on small fry like them, and that he wants to face Liam right here and now. Out of frustration, he is about to crush one of the officers' heads, but that is when Liam comes out of nowhere and strikes Goes with his sword. Liam realizes that Goes has gotten really tough, as just that one strike was enough to dull his blade. Goes reaches out to grab Liam with his hand, but Liam quickly manages to slice it clean off using the new katana he picked up. Even though Goes is able to grow his body parts back, Liam is still able to cut him down with ease. Liam is also genuinely impressed with how strong and sharp the katana is, so he decides to make it his main weapon from now on. Goes cannot believe it. He has no idea how it is even possible for Liam to be this strong. Goes realizes there is no beating Liam, so he begins begging for mercy and even offers to hand over all the treasure he has. But Liam knows that the treasure is already his anyway, so taking his head is the only real prize left to claim. As a last desperate move, Goes tries to attack Liam one more time, but Liam just cuts his legs out from under him again, which sends him straight back to begging for mercy. One of the officers can see that Liam is thinking about keeping Goes alive, so he reminds him that Goes is responsible for killing a lot of their men, and that they cannot just let him walk away with his life. Liam points out that they will only get the bounty if they bring him back alive, but the officer points out that they will get the bounty either way as long as they bring back proof that they dealt the final blow. So with that settled, Liam delivers the final slash that finishes Goes off for good. With everything taken care of, Liam dismisses Commodore and tells him that he trusts him to handle the rest. Liam then sits back and crosses his legs, taking in the fact that it is all over, and Amagi simply smiles and welcomes him back. Thanks to Liam's attack on the pirates, the reputation of the Banfield domain rises very fast, so the people of the domain feel very grateful to have Liam as their lord now, even though they doubted him at first. Meanwhile, Liam receives a visit from the head of the Henfree Trading Company, and after checking the treasure taken from the Goes pirates, he gives Liam an estimate of how much they can pay for it. Amagi says that after running the numbers, this amount will be able to pay off most of House Banfield's debts, and hearing that, Liam starts to wonder how much debt the house has for this amount to not fully clear it. Just then, Christiana walks in and bows before Liam, saying she has been cleared from all her rehabilitation and treatment at the hospital, and she is also here to thank Liam for everything he has done for her so far. Liam gets bored with all the talk and simply asks Christiana to explain how her recovery went. Christiana says she is willing to do anything for Liam, so she takes it too far and starts removing her clothes until she is left in her underwear, but Liam tells her that he is not the one who wants to see that. It is the manufacturers. Niaz then walks in and suggests that Liam should get new battleships, but when she sees Christiana half naked, she assumes Christiana is trying to gain favor by seducing Liam, so she quickly rushes in and starts taking off her own clothes slowly. She sits closer to Liam and tries to seduce him, but Christiana immediately draws her sword in anger, and the situation becomes tense for a moment before a blonde girl walks in and introduces herself as Yulisha from the Third Weapons Factory. She says she heard Liam found a large amount of treasure and came to make a sales offer for new mobile night suits. Yulisha shows pictures of powerful 2,000-meter battleships and Liam is impressed, so he tells Amagi he wants one, but Amagi reminds him that he needs approval from the Empire to get ships over 2,000 meters, and they will not give that approval to their house. Niaz then suggests buying their 1,000-meter ships instead, but Christiana draws her sword again and tells her to stay away from Liam. Things grow tense again until Brian enters and announces that they have received news from the capital planet that Liam will be given a medal for defeating the Goes pirates. Because of this, he is invited to attend an award ceremony on the capital planet. Brian tells Liam to wait for the visitors who have come to see him. A strange man walks up and greets Liam warmly as if they know each other, but Liam does not recognize him at all. He asks Amagi who the man is, and she explains that this is his father, Lord Cliff, and the people behind him are his mother and grandparents. Liam is surprised at how young they all look and assumes it is because of anti-aging magic. His father is surprised because it has been over 40 years since they last met. His grandparents speak and call Amagi a dumb AI doll, asking Liam why he brought it into the palace, and they suggest he should get rid of her since he is now an adult and the head of House Banfield. Amagi senses the tension and offers to leave the room, but Liam tells her to stay with him. He then asks his relatives what they want. They do not hesitate and say they know he will receive a large fortune from defeating the pirates, so they ask if he can share some with them because they have many debts. Liam immediately tells Amagi to escort them out because they are leaving. Lord Cliff says this is no way to treat his parents, but Liam draws his katana and says he does not care. His relatives realize this is a bad time and leave. Amagi points out that their family's debt collectors may come to Liam to demand payment, so she suggests increasing their allowance on the condition that they stay away from him forever. She goes to prepare the request, but Liam calls her back and reminds her that she is his only family. The guide watches all this and becomes angry that things are still going well for Liam. Meanwhile, Liam's family receives a letter that forbids them from contacting him, and this makes them very frustrated. The guide uses their anger to surround them with his aura and influence their minds, giving them the idea to replace Liam as the head of the house so they can take all his assets. After gaining enough money, they plan to hire assassins and kill Liam since they will no longer need him. The guide celebrates, believing Liam will finally be gotten rid of. Back at the palace, Amagi sees a glowing golden dog enter a nearby room, but when she scans the room, the dog is gone, and she instead detects 4 people, who she identifies as Liam's relatives. Before entering, she overhears their plan to remove Liam by claiming it is improper for him to keep an AI doll by his side. She steps back and leaves with a plan. The next day, while Liam receives praise for defeating the pirates, his relatives meet with the Chancellor and complain that their request to remove Liam failed because there are no errors in the documents that made him Lord, and he has ruled for over 40 years without issue. They argue that he keeps an AI, but the Chancellor says Liam is fulfilling all his duties, so that is not enough reason to punish him. He clearly tells them the Empire has high expectations for Liam, so he will not be removed. Cliff tries to argue more, but the Chancellor ends the discussion and tells them to leave if they have nothing else to say. They leave in frustration. Amagi then appears and thanks the Chancellor for his help. The Chancellor reminds her that he has done what she asked, and in return, he will use the reward for defeating the pirates to pay part of their tax debt. Amagi asks if they can receive approval for a 2,000-meter battleship instead, but the Chancellor says that would only benefit the Empire more since they would pay taxes and also buy from an imperial factory. He calls her foolish for making such a poor deal and says the house finally has a capable lord, yet others try to ruin it out of selfishness. Amagi just bows and leaves. Later that night, Liam lies in bed while Amagi cleans his ears, and after some time, she tells him that she plans to leave. Liam thinks she means a short break and agrees, telling her to rest. She clarifies that she means leaving his side completely. She explains that AI androids are disliked in the Empire, so staying with him will damage his reputation. She reminds him of the 3 laws of maid robots, starting with the first law that says a maid robot must not harm her master, and she believes staying with him is harming his reputation. Liam thinks this is a joke and reminds her of the second law, which says she must obey her master's orders. She replies that the second law does not apply if it conflicts with the first law. Amagi steps back and bows, thanking Liam for treating her like a human and taking good care of her, but she believes it is time for them to go their separate ways. Liam refuses to accept this and reminds her of the third law, which says a maid robot must protect its own existence unless it conflicts with the first and second laws. He asks if she has protected herself. Amagi thinks he means physically, but Liam clarifies that he means her feelings. He asks if leaving him is truly what she wants. Amagi hesitates and says she is an AI and cannot fully understand human emotions, but when she decided to leave, her system became overloaded. A tear falls from her eye, showing she does not want to leave. Liam tells her that if she leaves, he will fall apart and lose everything they built. He asks if she is willing to let that happen, as it would break the first law by harming her master through inaction. Amagi understands and changes her decision, choosing to stay. Liam goes in to hug her and tells her she cannot abandon him now. Amagi gently pats his head and promises to continue serving him with all her ability. After that, they prepare to return home. Liam feels grateful for his life and hopes the guide can feel his gratitude. The guide senses this and screams in pain, realizing that despite everything he tried, he still failed to bring Liam down. This was the end. Subscribe to not miss more recaps and watch the next video on screen.